Fox News. Fair and balanced.
In Chicago this morning, we have partly cloudy skies, 70 degrees, 5:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning, everyone. I'm Mike Scott in the Nissan of St. Charles newsroom. Nissan of St. Charles, home of the Lifetime Advantage warranty. One person is wounded following an officer-involved shooting. It happened in Gary, Indiana. Police there say they began chasing a vehicle that contained 5 suspected in robbing a cell phone store in Munster, Indiana. Car left the roadway in Gary. Robbers took off. One of them was shot by a Gary officer and hospitalized. 3 other suspects were arrested. A 5th this morning remains on the loose. The Illinois Retail Merchants Association is appealing a judge's decision to dismiss a lawsuit that temporarily blocked Chicago area's sweetened beverage tax. Penny per ounce tax imposed by Cook County was originally slated to begin July 1, was delayed by a lawsuit, now scheduled to go into effect later this week. In their appeal Tuesday of the lawsuit's dismissal, retailers say they actually doubt Judge Daniel Kubasiak used correct standards in granting Cook County's motion to dismiss. Democrat House Speaker Michael Madigan says Republican Governor Bruce Rauner's veto of the school funding bill is choosing crisis over compromise. Rauner used his amendatory veto power to rewrite a bill that overhauls how the state distributes money to schools. Rauner objects to the pension bailout and other money for the Chicago public schools in the form of a block grant. The move threatens whether all districts statewide may get any money before the school year begins. City of Chicago is being sued over the way it administers tickets received by drivers caught using their cell phones behind the wheel. The suit filed Tuesday in Cook County Circuit Court alleges Chicago took cases to Municipal Administrative Court for years in a bid to keep all of the resulting fines rather than sharing that money with the county and the state of Illinois. The suit filed by the law firm Myron Cherry and Associates says because of that, drivers had far fewer opportunities to prove their innocence in an administrative court than in a state court. Illinois consumers who buy health care coverage through the Affordable Care Act exchange could see prices increase by as much as 43% next year. Tribune reports that several health insurance providers are proposing double-digit increases in rates released Thursday under what's often referred to as the Obamacare state exchange. Indiana State Representative Mike Braun plans to join the increasingly crowded Republican primary for U.S. Senate in Indiana. The Jasper lawmaker says he intends to move forward with a bid and have a formal announcement in the near future. If the freak-out ride at the Illinois State Fair passes inspection, you will be able to ride it. The state's Department of Labor yesterday reversing a ban on the freak-out and fireball rides that went into effect after that deadly accident at the Ohio State Fair. The department said 12 freak-out or fireball rides have been taken out of service, including the ride scheduled to be at the State Fair in Springfield next week. John Lester hit his first career home run. Cubs lit up the Diamondbacks 16-4 in the opener of a 3-game set. Anthony Rizzo also went deep twice for the Cubs. Josh Donaldson homered and drove in 3 to power the Blue Jays to an 8-4 win over the White Sox. Training camp rolls on for the Bears. Chicago back on the practice field today after a day off yesterday. The news, a service of TrueCar. With TrueCar, you can see what others paid for the car you want, so you can recognize a great deal. TrueCar users, on average, save over $3,000 off MSRP. For newer used cars, visit TrueCar for a more confident car buying experience. 5:06, check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
On AM 560, The Answer. Your opinion counts. And we want to know how you feel about the news stories we're talking about each and every day. Make sure to vote in the M13 Graphics Opinion Express poll at 560theanswer.com. Listen for today's poll question at 10:30 a.m., 12:30 p.m., and 3:30 p.m. And hear the results each evening at 5:30. It's the M13 Graphics Opinion Express Poll on 560theanswer.com.
You are about to hear from Dr. Douglas Howard.
After 20 years and tens of thousands of success stories, Balance of Nature is still the only pure whole food supplement available. Balance of Nature has served more than 500 million servings of fruits and vegetables. Don't accept imitations, copies, or substitutions. Our success stories are unique to Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies. You'll know you have the real thing when you open the bottles and see, smell, and taste real produce.
It is worth every penny I pay because they really have made such a difference in my life. It is making me feel a whole lot better.
Even my doctor thought it was a good product.
Take Dr. Howard's Health Challenge and find out how to get 2 free sets of fruits and veggies. We'll even ship them to you for free. Call now for details.
Call 800-2468-751. That's 800-2468-751. Or go online to balanceofnature.com.
Use promo code CHICAGO.
If you save $500,000 in an IRA or 401k, you know it's not really $500,000, right? Because you still have to pay taxes on that money. But here's something that will shock you. Some people will pay through the nose in taxes when they withdraw money from their retirement accounts, while a smart and savvy few will legally pay far less. Could you potentially save thousands of dollars in taxes on your IRA or 401k and keep this money for yourself? Yes, you could. Learn how in a free report called 6 Ways to Tax-Free Income in Retirement from me, Tom Fortino, host of the Alpha Wealth Hour. The free report could save you tens of thousands of dollars. Call 630-873-6326. It's your choice. Pay the IRS or keep this money for yourself. Call 630-873-6326 or visit us on alphawealthgroup.com. That's alphawealthgroup.com.
Investment advisory services offered through Retirement Wealth Advisors, Inc.
509. And a check of the roads in the Alarm Detection Systems Traffic Center with Jim Talamonte. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning, Mike. On the inbound Stevenson Expressway, traffic is stop and go from Cass 283. This is overnight work now starting to clear out of the 2 right lanes. It's about a 5-minute delay right now. A report of a vehicle fire on the westbound Reagan Tollway Yaklet. Looks like that's cleared up. Elsewhere, the expressways and tollways look pretty good. The express lanes on the Kennedy have been closed for overnight work. They should be opening very shortly on the inbound side. Some heavy sports traffic today in Chicago. The Sox have a day game against Toronto at home. And the Cubs are home tonight against Arizona. Plus, you have the MLS All-Stars at Soldier Field tonight. This is in addition to all the Lollapalooza-related closings for the music festival, which starts tomorrow. So there'll be a lot of heavy traffic along Lakeshore Drive in the downtown area. Right now it's quiet. Traffic is a service of Staples. Staples has low prices on everything your kids need to head back to school with confidence. Get everything they need for less at Staples. Right now, composition books and 2-pocket polyfolders are just 50 cents. While supplies last, limit 30 in-store, 10 online. And it's 9-2. Staples, it's pro time. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm Jim Talamonte on AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer starts next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast from the aircomfort.com Weather Center, providing the right climate for business since 1935. The latest with meteorologist Chris Morelli.
Today, periods of clouds and sunshine with a shower or thunderstorm in spots this afternoon, high 84. Mainly cloudy skies tonight, low 67. Thursday, mostly cloudy and humid, look for a high of 82. I'm Chris Morelli on AM 560, The Answer.
Currently, we have 69 at O'Hare. Next news at 5:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy starts now on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 on your mobile device. Now available on iHeartRadio. Online at iHeartRadio.com.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Good morning, Dan, and in for Amy this morning, since nobody at the bus stop would do it, is Sean from Elmwood Park.
Be a little more excited about it, in for the bus.
People who listened to the show yesterday, you heard Amy's voice. She sounded like Joe Cocker all morning, so she's...
I still say Rahm Emanuel with that Munchkin voice.
Taking a day off to recover, so hopefully she'll be back at 100% and in studio tomorrow. But, Sean, severe pleasure to have you, as always.
Yeah. It's not often you hear the phrase severe pleasure, huh? Mike Scott, you ever hear that one? That's kind of exciting.
But it's probably often that you hear it. It's not often you hear it said.
Yeah, mainly
but
by
I
my
suspect
wife.
You hear it quite often.
Well, that's my wife's introduction to me, to the family.
Meet my husband, the severe pleasure.
Yeah.
All right, so Jeff Flake, he wrote an op-ed in Politico that was making the rounds yesterday. Senator from Arizona, the other Republican senator who seems at odds with the Republican Party, and particularly the Republican president at this juncture. Flake made the Sunday talk shows this weekend, most notably Face the Nation with John Dickerson, where he's talking about this book that he wrote, sort of updating Barry Goldwater's Conscience of a Conservative, and diagnosing what he thinks is the problem, how conservatives and the Republican Party has lost its way in the era of Trump.
Not how voting with Mitch McConnell as his Robin to Mitch McConnell's impotent Batman, that's not the problem of our politics. See, because that's what Jeff Flake is. So he pretends to be Barry Goldwater, but when he votes, he's Mitch McConnell, old lady face. And if Mitch says, let's eat an apple and crap a fruit salad, Jeff Flake's all in.
Well, that's not in the book.
But it should be, because that's who he is. And they write these books, and they go on and they make, like McCain himself, they make these speeches, I'm going to rip out Obamacare. And when they have the chance to do it, what do? They do what they're told to do.
Well, here's what Flake says. This is...
It's aggravating. You're aggravating me in the morning. I was in a good mood. I made fun of the kid's hair. Our other guy cut his hair with the George Michaels. I was having a good time.
With the George Michaels?
Keith, he had the perfect George Michaels hairdo going. And someone talked him into...
George Michaels?
George Michaels.
Who's George Michaels?
The guy that's passed away.
George Michael.
Oh, all right. Are you sure it's not Michaels?
Yeah,
God,
sure,
for 30 years, I've been calling him Michaels.
George Michael, yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Guilty.
I was confusing him with the wrestler.
George Michaels, the wrestler?
No, there was a wrestler named Michaels.
But not named George.
No.
Are we done with this Abbott and Costello routine now? So if we could get back to Jeff Flake.
All right.
So here's what he said. We went through some of this on Monday from the Sunday talk shows, but it bears repeating now that he's kind of doubling down. And I think we've got him scheduled to be on our show next week, Monday, so you want to stay tuned for that. But let me just give you the diagnosis in terms of what he says is wrong and the path forward. Here's Jeff Flake from Face the Nation on Sunday.
I think similarly today, the party has lost its way. We've given in to nativism and protectionism. And I think that if we're going to be a governing party in the future and a majority party, we've got to go back to traditional conservatism, limited government, economic freedom, individual responsibility, respect for free trade. Those are the principles that made us who we are.
It's really interesting. I mean, Flake's essential criticism seems to be a disagreement over protectionist trade policies, which I agree with him. Maybe some immigration policy. He makes references to nativism without being specific. I don't necessarily agree with him. I'd like to know specifically what the charge is, not just kind of the generic term of nativism. And also this kind of respect for Congress, the legislative branch, as a co-equal branch of government. Yeah, he seems to be saying, he doesn't seem to be saying, he says it in this Politico op-ed, the strange specter of an American president's seeming affection for strong men and authoritarians created such a cognitive dissonance among my generation of conservatives who had come of age under existential threat from the Soviet Union that was almost impossible to believe. Even as our own government was documenting a concerted attack against our democratic processes by an enemy foreign power, our own White House was rejecting the authority of its own intelligence agencies, disclaiming their findings as a Democrat ruse and hoax.
But listen to the tone of his voice. I find that fascinating, that condescending. See, because what he's doing is he's rejecting Trump supporters. That's what he's doing with that condescending, we've lost our way. Because he's right, by the way, about what he's actually saying.
He's talking about chaos in the White House. He's talking about a lack of, institutional integrity in Congress and respect for that, the independence of the judicial branch. There was a time, he writes, when the leadership of Congress from both parties felt an institutional loyalty. that would frequently create bonds across party lines in defense of congressional prerogatives and a unified front against the White House, regardless of the president's party, and so on and so forth. So it's more of this kind of bipartisan appeal to bipartisanship. He goes on, if by 2017 the conservative bargain was to go along for the very bumpy ride because with congressional hegemony in the White House, we had the numbers to achieve some long-held policy goals, so even as we put at risk our institutions and values, then it was a very real question whether any such policy victories would be Pyrrhic ones because of the alienation from each other, rationalizing away our own principles and so forth. But it's all this kind of this general charge that he makes. There's not a lot in terms of particulars. And then what's his path forward? Civility, demeanor.
Not enough to be conservative anymore. You have to be vicious. What do you mean by that?
Well, if you look at the politics of today, I mean, the tape from last week at the White House and the language that was used then. And we've seen, unfortunately, too many examples of members of Congress and other elected officials using language, referring to your opponents in ways that you would have never done before, ascribing the worst motives to your opponents, and assuming that other Americans are the enemies. And that's just not the way it used to be, and I don't think it can be that way in the future.
Well, there was perhaps more of a patina of civility in past eras. But, I mean, in terms of the underlying competition of ideas, the underlying pursuit of power, that hasn't changed because man hasn't changed. So, yeah, you can point to Scaramucci and you can point to some of Trump's intemperate tweets, but I'm just kind of at a loss to understand, and maybe he'll clarify this when he talks to us on Monday or when I read the book. Maybe it'll be illuminating. I tend to doubt it. But I'm just not clear exactly what the path forward is. Listen to this path forward for Republicans. This is from his Politico op-ed. First, we shouldn't hesitate to speak out if the president, quote unquote, plays to the base in a ways that damage the Republican Party's ability to grow and speak to a larger audience. Second, Republicans need to take the long view when it comes to issues like free trade. Third, Republicans need to stand up for institutions and prerogatives like the Senate filibuster that have served us well for more than 2 centuries. So I agree on free trade. I agree in terms of the quality of the rhetorical and written content coming from the White House from time to time, a lot of times. But it's all about controlling Trump's Twitter account and standing up for the Senate filibuster. That's going to save the Republican Party?
He's a contradiction because he's giving himself cover. What's he really saying? We lack civility, but we don't want civility in a representative government. I want you to represent what I want. See, he runs as a conservative. He runs as Barry Goldwater. And when he wins, he becomes a step and fetch to Mitch McConnell. He is a step and fetch. Where has he stood up for any of the things that got him elected? So he's very civil in his complacency. He's very civil.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, if you go to, the ratings, if you look at his legislative record, whether it's Freedom Works or Heritage Action, his numbers are pretty good. He's got a pretty conservative voting record. But, and this we go through this all the time with the Republican Party here, particularly in, frankly, a red state like Arizona. Is it enough to just press the red button when you're supposed to press red and press green when you're supposed to press green and then you're a conservative thought leader? No, it's not. And frankly, even if you're in a swing state, because you're supposed to be going there to do something, and that requires leadership. And this is somebody who, fashions himself a bit of an intellectual. He was the executive director of the Goldwater Institute and a policy-oriented legislator, ED of the Goldwater Institute before he was a member of Congress. And everything he has to say is just about tone.
Certainly the modern media culture values those who yell the loudest. And so the tougher path is, frankly, to have the kind of demeanor that some people might call boring, but you've got to move ahead and tackle the policy issues. And the problem is this is very much getting in the way of us solving the problems that we've got to solve.
I mean, it just strings together cliches. I mean, it's just all kind of let's play nice with one another, let's be civil to one another, and that's all well and good. And but it's civility and bipartisanship and solving problems and all of these amorphous words and phrases that have been stripped of meaning through overuse and misapplication. that's the pathway, that's the big Jeff Flake idea for the Republican Party, I just don't see that as terribly compelling.
You said something that's important. He fastens himself an intellectual, and you could hear it in the condescending tone of his voice. And the guy who thinks himself an intellectual is the most dangerous politician there is, because he's basically already given himself justification to rule over you. That's what he is. And that's what he's doing, and that's what he's asking for more of, is that this small group, these intellectuals, they get to decide. And how do you decide? Well, by party agreement. Well, where have we not had party agreement? You know, there's a lot going on outside of Jeff Flake's book. Where don't they agree? They all agree now that Congress and that the government should be in charge of virtually everything. Where is the stand?
There's not complete agreement with that. I don't think Mike Lee agrees with that. I don't think Ted Cruz
and they're
Ted Cruz
ostracized.
agrees with that. Well, I'm not okay, but they don't all agree.
Okay,
Greg and Schomburg, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, Sean and Dan. Next week when you have Blake on, Dan, asking this question, why the Democrats sit on the sideline and don't participate, that we're willing to engage them as evidenced by conservative talk radio on attribute by attribute all the way down the line, and they've refused to participate. They're always emotional. And then last but not least, when we go through the attributes, let's start with cost. Why is it that, like in Illinois and in the federal government, they have no clue what things cost and don't make any attempt to reconcile cost to what things actually do cost? And therefore, we have the mess we have in our country and in our state.
Thanks for the call, Greg. All good points. In addition to that, the civility from the left, from Tom Perez, the DNC head, from Kamala Harris, are we getting civility from the left? And if Jeff Flake wants the institution of the Senate to be respected and revered, then and his party to be successful, if that's what this is all about, then he's picked an inopportune time to start lecturing people, given the inability of his caucus to move an Obamacare replace, because he's one of those senators that made those promises as well during his campaigns, and so he's part of that 52-seat Republican majority in the Senate that hasn't accomplished a whole heck of a lot that they said they would accomplish to this point, have they?
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
I get to do the weather. I've been waiting to talk the whole time. Now I got to do the weather. Today,
yes, you're very much like Trump.
I talk more when I call in, for God's sake.
You're very much like Trump. We need to keep you unscripted.
Yeah.
So just read what you're given.
Today, some sun with a shower or thunderstorm in spots this afternoon. High 84. Tonight, mainly cloudy, low 68. But don't worry, Proft is going to wear my Aunt Bing sweater, which he refuses to take off for some reason because he says he has to carry things. My word. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy, humid. This AM, thunderstorm, or tomorrow AM. Why does it say this AM? Give me the kid over here. Tomorrow AM, thunderstorm in spots, then strong thunderstorms, high 83, low tomorrow night, 63.
Let's get a reliever in here who can read.
I mean, I can read. You're typing. It's not correct. And if it's one thing a guy from Melrose Park knows, it's grammar. Correct grammar. Now we're going to go to Jim Telemonte. Where are the dummies, Jim?
Good morning, Sean. Good morning, Dan. We have on the South Shoreline some overhead wire damage from yesterday, so between Michigan City and South Bend, only buses are running, so you can expect delays. Otherwise, the rail lines look good. The roads, for the most part, the Edens is clear. Kennedy inbound, the express lane should be opening. They were supposed to open at 5 this morning, but still closed after overnight maintenance. The Eisenhower's fine for now. Inbound Stevenson heavy, Lamont Road to 83. Overnight roadworks clearing. Just about a 3-minute delay at the moment. Ryan, little heavy approaching downtown. 17 minutes, 95th for the loop. Outbound 17 with roadwork from 87th to split in the 3 left lanes. I-57, 18 minutes. I-80 to the merge, Bishop 422. I'm Jim Talamonte in the Alarm Detection Systems Traffic Center.
Upstream-ideas.com, the digital platform that complements what we do each morning on this show. Long-form interviews in our Against the Current series. This week featuring Cook County Board of Review Commissioner Dan Patlack talking property taxes. Podcast of our Illinois Rising program covering state policy and politics. This week focused on school funding, of course. 60 seconds of commentary, 60 seconds of sanity commentaries from yours truly this week on the argument that everything that Trump does or says can be excused by Trump being a fighter. 2-minute warnings from Pat Hughes from the Illinois Opportunity Project. And our new series, Heart of the Matter, which is professional women speaking about the issues, dialoguing colleague to colleague And this week, the topic is the impact on household budgets by the tax increases in Illinois that took effect July 1st. You can check it out and sign up at upstream-ideas.com.
When you have sleep apnea, traveling can be a real drag because you have to drag your big, bulky home CPAP device with you everywhere you go. But not anymore. Now you can travel easily and sleep comfortably anywhere thanks to Transcend, the world's very first mini CPAP. And right now, you can try Transcend absolutely risk-free for 10 restful nights. So call now, 1-800-600-4133. Our smallest and most advanced portable design ever, Transcend is as small as a soda can and weighs less than a pound. You can even add a battery that's as tiny as a deck of cards. Transcend is so incredibly small and light, you can easily fit it in your briefcase or purse to use anywhere you go. It's FAA compliant too, so you can even sleep comfortably while flying. Now you can enjoy the freedom to sleep comfortably anywhere. But don't delay. To receive your 10-night in-home trial, call minicpap.com now. 1-800-600-4133. Again, that's 1-800-600-4133.
Hey guys, Ken here from the award-winning podcast Today's Growth. If you had to choose sides, which camp would you rather be in? Would you rather have time and no money, or money and no time? Did you know that 95% of U.S. adults by choice have settled into these categories? Much more interesting is that 1 out of 20 people have built their life around achieving simultaneous control of both time and money. What choices did these 5% make that the others didn't? My friends at Income Store have shown both households and businesses how to build second, third, and even fourth revenue streams for the express purpose of gaining control of time. When it comes to helping folks create their next revenue model, both Forbes and Inc. recommend Income Store as a can't miss. Could your household or business use an additional revenue model that doesn't solely depend on you? If so, you need to check out IncomeStore.com. That's IncomeStore.com.
Go to IncomeStore.com today. That's IncomeStore.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan and in for Amy this morning, Sean from Elmwood Park. And Sean, you have to turn your mic on if you want to comment on George Michael, not Michaels.
From now on, he's Michaels. Does it matter anymore? Who's going to complain?
Yeah, it's interesting that you're such a fan.
He's gone.
Here's something that maybe you could do over at the Elmhurst Cigar House. You're a business owner.
Yeah.
Did you see this? A Wisconsin company, 3 Square Market, receiving international attention because they had a implant microchips in their employees' party this week.
Oh, how exciting.
They stick a little radio transmitter in your finger, and this way, with the RFID chip in your finger, you can open doors, log into computers, make purchases from vending machines. You don't need a wallet. You don't need key cards.
Oh, versus hitting the enter button?
Yeah.
So it's much easier than hitting the enter button? I mean, listen to what's going on. It's insane. The whole world is crazy.
You don't support the idea of voluntarily microchipping?
Not at all. Not at all.
It's too Orwellian for you?
Just a tad. I think that debit cards are too Orwellian for me. I mean, this movement.
Debit cards are too. Yeah.
This movement to get everybody's information onto little chips drives me insane. And you want to know something? None of it helps. The other day, I used my card at a gas station. They cloned the card. I got the identity theft problems. So none of it works the way they said. They said they're going to put the chip in to cut it down.
Boy, is that identity thief in for a surprise.
Oh, wait till he meets my wife. She's after him for some credit.
Although I do think, boy, you and many of your patrons at Elmhurst Cigar House, myself included, it would be good to be microchipped so that people can look after them.
No one's sticking a chip. I want to be there when they come in to try to put the chips in us. Just Big Lou alone will take care of 12 of them.
All right, coming up, Campus Beat segment. Some social justice warriors are having justice meted out upon them. We'll discuss after we check the headlines with Mike Scott.
Dan and Sean, good morning. 69 degrees in the Nissan of St. Charles newsroom. Nissan of St. Charles, home of the Lifetime Advantage warranty. Leading Republican says his Senate committee will begin hearings next month to stop the health insurance market from collapsing. Senator Lamar Alexander of Tennessee says he'll work with Democrat Patty Murray of Washington on that so-called bipartisan effort. Meantime, Majority Leader Mitch McConnell is ready to move beyond health care.
Well, I mean, it's pretty obvious that our problem with health care was not the Democrats. We didn't have 50 Republicans. The votes are simply not there.
In a Capitol briefing, McConnell saying the Senate plans to move on to comprehensive tax reform. White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders says all options are on the table when it comes to North Korea.
The president has been very outspoken about the need to stop North Korea. We've been very focused on stopping the nuclear program, stopping the missiles, stopping the aggression. That still continues to be the focus.
At a White House briefing, Sanders did not respond to suggestions from Senator Lindsey Graham about possible preemptive strikes on North Korea. The Department of Homeland Security waiving environmental laws to begin building a wall along the border with Mexico, a 14-mile stretch near San Diego. President Trump sounding off on Venezuela for imprisoning two opponents to President Nicolas Maduro. Trump calling for their immediate and unconditional release. Amazon hiring thousands today to help at their fulfillment centers. The company planning to hire 50,000 new workers for positions. Hiring campaign again begins today. The Illinois Retail Merchants Association appealing a judge's decision to dismiss a lawsuit temporarily blocking Chicago area's sweetened beverage tax. Penny per ounce tax imposed by Cook County was originally slated to begin July 1st. Employees of a Wisconsin technology company who received a microchip implant in their hand say that experience was a good one. Three Square Market, known as 32M, says 41 of 85 employees agreed to be voluntarily microchipped during what they're calling a chip party. The company's headquarters in River Falls, Wisconsin. The company says it's the first U.S. appearance of technology already widely used in Europe. Anthony Rizzo went deep twice. John Lester, his first career home run. Cubs beat the Diamondbacks 16-4. Josh Donaldson homered and drove in 3, giving the Blue Jays an 8-4 win over the White Sox. The news, a service of Boost Mobile. Switch to Boost and get 2 lines with 3 gigs of 4G LTE data per line for only $50. Plus, get up to 2 free LGX power phones, all powered by the fast and reliable Sprint nationwide network. Boost makes it easy to switch. Switching makes it easy to save. 5:34 and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Mike Gallagher is onto the game from the media.
I turned on that insufferable Don Lemon last night. He's sitting there with his panel of Gloria Borger types, and they're all guffawing and laughing at Trump talking to the New York Times. Well, wait a minute. Every other night I turn on CNN, they're mad at him for not talking to the Times. So which is it? It's proof, of course, that they're not objective. It's a big game to them.
The Mike Gallagher Show. Weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
Home isn't just a place, it's the feeling of knowing you're safe. ADT lets you take that feeling with you. Learn more at ADT.com.
A good parking lot is essential to a good building and a good business.
This is Kevin Berquist. My company is SKC Construction, home of GreatParkingLots.com. Great parking lots. The name says it all. We make your parking lot great. We are an industry leader in seal coating. You can trust our company to do the work for your company. We have the same traditional values as you. We use a process and application that makes sure you get a great job that lasts a long time. I guarantee you'll have a good experience. Go to our website, greatparkinglots.com. Check it out, greatparkinglots.com.
Go to greatparkinglots.com. Schedule a free inspection and get a quote to make your parking lot a great parking lot. Save the expense. Fix, don't replace. Contact SKC Construction now for commercial parking lot seal coating and maintenance. SKC Construction, home of greatparkinglots.com. greatparkinglots.com.
If you're aged 59 and a half or older with the 401k plan and still working, stop what you're doing and call Arlington Capital Management at 855-471-5796. They'll help you actively manage your 401k, show you strategies to avoid major declines, and capitalize on opportunities. There are benefits with age, and this is one of them. At 59 and a half, you're entitled to new opportunities in the investment world that can dramatically improve your results and even lower your fees. Call 855-471-5796 471-5796 now and take the first step toward getting more out of your retirement assets. The team at Arlington Capital Management proactively explores the market, our economy, and all of the variables that offset your investments. Call 855-471-5796 now for a complimentary consultation. That's 855-471-5796 or visit arlington-capital.com. You worked hard to accumulate your nest egg. Now, it's time to put your money to work for you.
5:36 and a check of the roads in the Alarm Detection Systems Traffic Center. Here's Jim.
Thanks, Mike. On the inbound Eisenhower, see some congestion now between 25th and 17th Avenues. About 30 minutes, Thorndale to downtown. Outbound fine at 29. No delays on the 8 ends. The Kennedy looks good. The express lanes have just reopened after overnight maintenance. Inbound Stevenson, heavy 355 to 83. Cicero to Pulaski, and State to Lakeshore Drive. 40 minutes, 355 to the drive. Ryan, 18 minutes, 95th to downtown. Outbound 17, heavy 87th to split with work in the 3 left lanes. I-57, 19 minutes, I-80 to the merge. Bishop Ford, 30. Delay started 115th. Northbound Tri-State, heavy approaching 290. Traffic is a service of Staples. Staples has low prices on everything your kids need to head back to school with confidence. For less, right now, 5-star 1-subject notebooks, Elmer 6+ 2 packs of glue sticks, and 4 packs of 3x3 yellow Post-it notes are just $2.50. While supplies last, ends 8/5, limit 5 in-store only. Staples, it's pro time. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm Jim Talamonte on AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast. From the aircomfort.com Weather Center, providing the right climate for business since 1935. Some sun with an afternoon shower or thunderstorm. High of 84. Clouds and 68 overnight. 69 at O'Hare. Next news at 6. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by the Money Hour radio show, Saturday afternoons at 3 on AM 560, The Answer. Brought to you by Pearshell Financial Group.
If you're talking about it, I'll be talking about it. Dennis Prager here. Join me this morning at 11, right here on AM 560, The Answer.
Good morning, Dan, and in for Amy this morning is Sean from Elmwood Park.
Is that why we're doing all songs from the 80s? Is the kid making fun of me behind the glass with the funny hairdo?
No,
Is he
I
making fun of me?
like 80s music.
What were you, 12?
I'm an 80s music savant.
What year did you graduate high school?
90.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You're a man of letters. Oh, boy.
All right.
I almost got that out.
Yeah.
Our College Beat segment, which we're going to do right now, normally is rather depressing and fatalistic. But I've got some good news this morning.
Hit me with it.
All right, here's good news item number 1. Kevin Allred, formerly of Rutgers University, is now also formerly of Montclair State University, before he even started at Montclair State University. Kevin Allred was fired from Rutgers University for tweeting about killing white people. Okay.
Thought that would get you a degree.
He was also sent to a psychiatric hospital for evaluation.
And next week he starts for a congressman as chief of staff.
Yeah, right. So then he, after he gets out of, Nurse Ratched's care, he goes over to Montclair State. But then he did this. Trump is an effing joke. This is all a sham. I wish someone would just shoot him outright.
Ooh.
Yeah.
It was that last part that got him in trouble.
Correct.
The first part might have got him an HBO special.
This got him relieved of his duties at Montclair State before.
What were his duties? He had duties? What are his duties?
Well, he was going to be a women's studies professor.
Oh, why not? How about the adjunct professor? I love that. They give that to every dummy in the world who's hooked up with a Democrat. You, my friend, are an adjunct professor.
Montclair State has fired me before I even started teaching there, tweeted Allred. Congrats to the Trump trolls, but you're still not special.
Oh.
A real
does the Secret Service
closing salvo?
Do they go and investigate this scoundrel?
When you suggest assassinating the president, yeah, you probably get a little.
Got to get on a list, huh?
Little call. Somebody with an earpiece knocks on your door, I suspect, and appropriately so.
Mm-hmm.
So there's Kevin Allred. He gone. That's good news item number 1. You ready for more good news?
I want to talk about Luis Gutierrez.
Hey,
giving his wife $400,000, the Puerto Rican socialist. I know
Homer
you're
Simpson.
in charge.
Homer Simpson. Let's stay on topic.
All right.
Good news item number 2. you remember in June, we talked about this, Pomona College announced that Jonathan Higgins would be the new Queer Resource Center director.
Wait, are they making fun of the guy? What did they just call him, a queer?
Queer Resource Center of the Claremont Colleges, which Pomona College administers. That's the actual title of the center, Queer Resource Center.
Nice.
Jonathan Higgins was going to be the director of said center. But then...
Picture showing your dad, look where I got to go. By the way, give me a check, Dad. Yeah.
Then he started tweeting as well about the police, saying the police are meant to serve and protect white supremacy and other such things. And then it was announced by Pomona that Mr. Higgins wouldn't be the director of said resource center after all. Then just recently, Claremont McKenna College, remember the protest when Heather McDonald...
I get my McDonald's confused. Which one is this?
Heather McDonald wrote the book, The War on Cops.
Oh, yeah.
Manhattan Institute. Speaking at Claremont McKenna College, protests, chants, no cops, no KKK, no fascist USA, blockaded entrances to the lecture hall where she was going to speak, so she ended up addressing almost an empty hall where they're pounding on the walls outside while she's trying to speak. Well, 10 students have been punished to varying degrees for violating the college's free speech policy. So that's, we got small victories here, but that's important too. So some social justice warriors are feeling justice.
I hear you talk all the time about social justice, and I try to call in, but for some reason I stay on hold a lot. Keith, you know anything about that? The thing about social justice that is infuriating to me is that their entire platform is to implement the racism, implement the bigotry, implement the misogyny that they claim they're against in order to right a wrong. And we, as citizens, we just say, okay. So in my world, it doesn't exist because I treat everybody the same way. I let them open their mouth before I make my judgment.
Yeah, right.
So to me, I'm following what I believe America is supposed to be about. I don't judge you until you open your mouth and prove yourself to be an idiot.
Yeah, well, that's very fair.
I don't want to implement, and the idea that these institutions, these colleges, these municipal tests, these politicians get to implement the very bigotry they claim they're against in the name of some sick, twisted justice annoys the hell out of me.
Well, I've got more good news for you then.
All right.
Now, it's coming from the Trump administration, so you're going to have to...
Does it come with a girdle and a dye job?
You're just going to have to take this.
Okay.
The Trump administration, New York Times reporting, is preparing to redirect resources of the Justice Department's Civil Rights Division toward investigating and suing universities over affirmative action admissions policies deemed to discriminate against white applicants.
Well, I'll tell you what's affirmative action? Can you think of a more racist philosophy than affirmative action? What it basically says is, hey, you of color, you're not good enough to compete in a fair market. So we're going to give you a benefit and take it away from somebody else before you ever even try. What they're basically doing is calling you a moron. Hey, moron, you need 18 extra points. You need 30 extra points because you can't compete in an open market rather than the free and open competition of it all.
Well, here's what's interesting about this. I mean, the Supreme Court has weighed in on this. They upheld a Michigan law that eliminates race as a consideration for admissions into state universities. This was a referendum passed maybe a decade ago. After a Supreme Court decision where the Grutter v. Bollinger, where the Supreme Court held that race may be a factor, but it can't be the determining factor in admissions policies. And then that was where Justice Sandra Day O'Connor famously suggested that, maybe 15 or 20 years from now, we can have completely race-neutral admissions policies, but we're not there yet. I mean, kind of dicta in the majority opinion. But it is interesting that the Trump administration is willing to use the Justice Department to flip the script and go after colleges that are in violation of that Supreme Court precedent and extend the conversation on race, to your point. I mean, I've said, and I said this about U of I when U of I had their admissions scandal, including the politically connected. It wasn't just about race; it's also about political clout.
That's
of
a
course.
parking lot page. I mean, that's just a
Of
parking
course.
lot for the politically connected. That's all that is.
Well, of course, and but it's so easy to solve. I mean, and it's interesting too because I use an example taken from the arts, which you'll note for the record is dominated by the left. How does the CSO, the Chicago Symphony Orchestra, how do they do tryouts?
You got to play, I would assume, in front of a guy, right? And he says, "Hey, you're pretty good."
Yeah, but here's what they do: you're behind a screen.
Exactly. Well,
They don't know who you are. They other than perhaps your name. They just listen to the music. And so why can't you do that with admissions policies to state universities like, let's say, U of I? When you get the application, when the admissions team gets the applications for review, you can be assigned a number. So your name and your other non-behavioral characteristics that have nothing to do with your academic record or your academic potential is stripped away. And you base your decisions on the substance of the record before you rather than knowing who anybody is and what race they are or gender or anything else.
There's a lot of money in this. If you were serious about equality, you would take off the race question on any application. What does it matter? What is your name? What do you do? Where are what's your resume? That's it. Take race off everything. If you were truly serious about equality, but they're not, because there is huge money in this. There's huge benefits. There's huge subsidies.
Well, there's also there's also what we're talking about, that campuses are dominated not just in the professorate but in the administration, even many boards of trustees, by cultural Marxists. So they don't believe in this. There is a philosophical disagreement about this. Steve on 88 has a good tweet about this. 2 generations of affirmative action is one too many. It's really well said, Steve. But I mean, do people agree? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 646-36DA, turnkey.pro text line. What about scaling the CSO model? It's how you play. It's not who you are. What about that? By the way, just because Montclair State and Claremont McKenna are making progress with getting rid of some of their, or otherwise punishing some of their most totalitarian social justice warriors, it doesn't mean you should send your kids there, but here's some options. Princeton Review just came out with its best of for colleges rankings. Most conservative student bodies in America, according to Princeton Review. Here's 3 colleges where you can send Shawnina Jr. and Shawnina III.
Yeah.
University of Dallas.
Okay.
Catholic. Hillsdale College, of course.
That's obviously the winner. But my kids don't listen to me. All I got to do is say it, and they'll say the other one.
And Thomas Aquinas. Of course.
Appropriate.
Well, so maybe the most liberal students, Reed College. So why don't you say, hey, Shawina and Shawina III.
Yeah, you could call,
why don't you go to Reed College, and then they'll go to University of Dallas or Hillsdale. A little reverse psychology, maybe.
Or I could just, give them a condo and tell them do what you want with it. I'm so disgusted with the idea that, you know what I mean? Here you go. You want to go to school, go to school. You want to rent it out, take the money. You want to sell it, do that. This whole thing that we have to tell our kids, you have to graduate from you have to be in this program, you have to take on debt. I rejected it as a student myself. I'll never forget. When I was, I went and got a job right out of high school. And my friends all went to college. And I was enrolled at Columbia. And I went to Columbia for a year and I think
Columbia
2
in
months.
Chicago.
Columbia in Chicago, yeah. For like a year and 2 months.
You don't strike me as an Ivy League guy.
I'll
just
tell you
wanted to
what,
clarify.
the biggest waste of time. And then you go see how they live in those little dorms like animals, filthy, dirty, drunk all the time. This is higher learning? Come on. You're sitting in there to get a piece of paper that you think's going to get you a job. And the whole time, what are you doing? You're delaying reality to me. So I went to the greatest college in the world, the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, the greatest college in the world. And you know what? If you didn't do good, you have to stay after and do extra homework. You got fired, and you were on the street, and you were loading trucks for the rest of your life. What's beeping? Is that you or me?
No, it's not, I don't know. It's probably in your head. Most sober schools, speaking of that, most sober schools.
Yeah.
That's also, it's a discussion for the young ladies in the Sean from Elmwood Park household. Brigham Young, no surprise there, Mormons.
Mm-hmm. You have to wear magic underpants the whole 4 years? Mormons freak me out with those burlap underpants. I don't get the whole thing.
All right, that's religious bigotry.
All right.
Number 2, College of the Ozarks.
Oh.
That's a bit of a surprise.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have
thought
thought
the
that.
meth lab would be very busy at the College of the Ozarks. I thought it was the whole state. I watched that show.
Everything I know about that area
Is from the show.
Is from Ozark.
Exactly. They all live in trailer parks. They're smoking meth.
I assume I assume Jason Bateman is the dean of the College of Ozark.
I love the
I don't
show.
know.
You've made the switch, and it feels so good. You've switched to Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
If you did not purchase health insurance coverage during the 2017 open enrollment, I can help you purchase a PPO health insurance plan at any time during the year. This is Tom Marabali, your health insurance advocate and independent producer for Blue Cross Blue Shield of Illinois and other health insurance carriers. If you are between the ages of 19 and 64, you are automatically paying for maternity coverage whether you want the coverage or not. If you are a non-smoking 50-year-old male or female living in the city of Chicago, the monthly premium rate for a 100% tax-deductible health savings account PPO plan would be $590 per month. But I can show you how to eliminate the mandatory maternity benefit and lower your monthly premiums down to approximately $240 per month. To see if you qualify or for more information, call me, Tom Marabali, at 630-863-3477. That's 630-863-3477.
ChicagoRadioDeals.com has partnered with two amazing gun establishments to bring you a full curriculum of training classes. To the north in Lake Villa is Red Dot Arms, offering a Refuse to be a Victim seminar, which teaches basic skills for developing strategy for your personal safety. Paired with a home and firearm safety course, this non-shooting class teaches you the safe handling and storage of firearms and ammo in the home. Continue the training with an NRA basic pistol shooting class or the personal protection courses. Set your sights on all the deets of the deals that Red Dot Arms has to offer at ChicagoRadioDeals.com. To the south in Bolingbrook is the range at 355, the state-of-the-art shooting range. Features electronic programmable targets and pure air filtration. Grab a deal for 12 hours of range time, a $396 value for only $195, plus a 16-hour, 2-day concealed carry class for only $100. Add pistol fundamentals and a small knife skills class, and you'll have all the bases covered. Find these Second Amendment deals and their details at ChicagoRadioDeals.com.
Yes, indeed. Summertime. Another hot one. Wait, gonna be a little bit cooler today. Back to hot. Gonna be windy. Maybe a thunderstorm mixed in for good measure. Up and down and up and down. The climate is always changing. Your company's heating and cooling system really gets a workout in Chicagoland. Be ready for anything this summer. Call Air Comfort and get your business's cooling system tuned up and running at peak performance. You see, the Air Comfort problem solvers can find small problems before they become big problems. Plus, proper maintenance will keep your system from wasting energy and money. Air Comfort will make sure your equipment is clean and obstacle-free. And if your chiller is about to or has stopped working, they can install temporary solutions to keep you cool while the long-term fixes are put in place. The key to keep your climate from changing is preventative maintenance, and Air Comfort can help. Schedule a comprehensive assessment of your mechanical system today. Call 708-345-1900 or visit aircomfort.com. Air Comfort, providing the right climate for business since 1935.
Americans have the right and advantage of being armed, unlike the citizens of other countries whose governments are afraid to trust the people with arms. James Madison, Federalist Papers. Our founders recognized that the common individual needs to be trusted, but with trust, there must be common sense and personal responsibility. This is especially true of handguns. If you've been thinking of making a purchase, visit the Range at 355. The Range at 355 is so much more than a state-of-the-art shooting range. It is a fully stocked showroom carrying a variety of firearms with brands like Smith & Wesson, Sig Sauer, HKs, and Glock. The Range at 355 offers Illinois concealed carry license training and a full curriculum of classes designed to teach you what you need to know to be a responsible gun owner and concealed carrier. Their professional team will train you like a pro. Founded by patriots like you, providing professional guidance and courteous instruction. Trust your skills to the pros at the Range at 355. For range hours and class info, visit range355.com. range355.com.
Investment advisory services offered through Goldstone Financial Group, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor.
Hey, would you buy a house without looking inside? Well, of course not. Shouldn't you be just as diligent when choosing a financial advisor? Hey, it's Sean Hannity here, and just as a house is more than four walls, well, a financial advisor is more than just a nice office. What's their background? Do they work in your best interest as a fiduciary? What's their financial specialty? You want to know all these things because the chances are, over your lifetime, you're going to trust them with far more than the value of your home, because knowledge and experience count for a lot in retirement income planning. Here in Chicago, you need to know brothers Anthony and Michael Pellegrino, founders of Goldstone Financial Group. Now, you've probably seen them on their show, Securing Your Financial Future, Sunday mornings on CBS 2. Call them right now, 800-620-9697. Start securing your financial future, 800-620-9697.
I want my government to just leave me the hell alone.
The Joe Walsh Show.
I don't have a political party speaking for me. The Republican Party, the Democrat Party, for somebody like me who just wants my government to leave me alone, the Republicans and Democrats don't do squat for me. We need something else.
The Joe Walsh Show. Weeknights starting at 5. Right after Sean Hannity at 2 on AM 560. The Answer.
I just want to be left alone.
5:57. It's time to check the climate of your business with aircomfort.com, providing the right climate for business since 1935. And time to check the roads. The Alarm Detection Systems Traffic Center. Here's Jim Talamonte.
Thanks, Mike. In northwest Indiana, traffic's heavy on westbound 8094 from past Grant to Burr. Edens is fine. Kennedy, heavy out of the River Road toll. The express lanes are now open inbound. 21 minutes, O'Hare to downtown. Outbound still good at 20. Eisenhower, 37 minutes, Thorndale to downtown. Outbound 30, Stevenson, 42 minutes, 355 to Lakeshore Drive. The Rhine is 23 minutes from 95th to downtown. Traffic is a service of Staples with free next-day delivery from Staples. You can run your business like a pro. Go to staples.com for the office essentials you need delivered next day free on eligible items only and orders over $49.99 placed by 5 p.m. Excludes weekends and holidays. Staples, it's pro time. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm Jim Talamonte at AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues after a full update from Fox News and your official Chicagoland weather forecast from the aircomfort.com Weather Center, providing the right climate for business since 1935. The latest with our meteorologist, Chris Morelli.
Today, periods of clouds and sunshine with a shower or thunderstorm in spots this afternoon, high 84. Mainly cloudy tonight, low 67. Thursday, mostly cloudy and humid with a shower or thunderstorm. Expect a high of 82. I'm Chris Morelli on AM 560, The Answer.
Currently 69, the news, a service of TrueCar. With TrueCar, you can see what others paid for the car you want, so you can recognize a great deal. TrueCar users, on average, save over $3,000 off MSRP for new or used cars. Visit TrueCar for a more confident car buying experience. 5:59 in the Nissan of St. Charles newsroom. Nissan of St. Charles, home of the Lifetime Advantage warranty. Here are the stories we're following on AM 560, The Answer. The Illinois Retail Merchants Association is appealing a judge's decision to dismiss a lawsuit that temporarily blocked Chicago area's sweetened beverage tax. Democrat House Speaker Mike Madigan says Republican Governor Bruce Rauner's veto of a school funding bill is choosing crisis over compromise. The sister of a Schaumburg woman murdered in April is suing over her death. Police say Tiffany Thrasher was sexually assaulted and strangled in her apartment. Misty King filed that suit against the apartment management company yesterday. John Lester a home run as the Cubs lit up the Diamondbacks. Blue Jays double up the White Sox 8-4. More Sean and Dan after Fox News, WIND Chicago News Time. 6.
Was North Korea watching? I'm Dave Anthony. Fox News. The U.S. has launched a missile test of its own days after the North fired yet another one that's maybe capable of reaching America. Fox's Rachel Sutherland live in Washington.
Dave, the U.S. Air Force successfully launched a Minuteman III missile from Vandenberg Air Force Base in California this morning. The test was planned, but comes amid growing concerns over North Korea's nuclear ambitions. Yesterday, Secretary of State Rex Tillerson had this message for North Korea.
We do not seek an excuse to send our military north of the 38th parallel.
But added the country is presenting an unacceptable threat to the United States. Secretary Tillerson also renewed calls for China to push for conditions that can lead to talks with North Korea. Dave?
Rachel, a NATO convoy was attacked today in Afghanistan. A U.S. Forces statement says there are casualties, but isn't saying if there are deaths or injuries or how many, nor do we know if there are any American victims. The White House is now acknowledging President Trump did have input, crafting Donald Jr.'s first statement about his reported meeting with a Russian lawyer and others during the campaign, contrary to the president's attorney's denial at the time.
The president weighed in as any father would based on the limited information that he had.
Deputy Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders, Donald Trump Jr. clarified later he had hoped to get dirt on Hillary Clinton at that meeting, but it didn't happen. The last of the peanut butter bandits has been caught. Fox's Tanya J. Powers explains live.
Brady Kilpatrick is behind bars again after he was caught in Florida last night about 20 miles north of West Palm Beach. He was being held on drug charges in the Walker County, Alabama jail when he and 11 other prisoners escaped on Sunday night. Prison officials say the inmates used peanut butter to change the numbers above a door and trick a new jailer into opening a door that led outside. Everybody but Kilpatrick was caught within 12 hours of the escape, Dave.
Tanya, drama at a drugstore in Phoenix last night. A man jumped on the counter demanding oxycodone with a gun. An armed customer shot and killed him. Fox News, fair and balanced.
Millwright work is often technical and requires a high degree of precision. The pros at Vans Industrial are skilled mechanics that can perform any type of millwright work, including installation and maintenance of your factory equipment and machinery. For your machine repair needs, look no further than Vans Industrial.
Hi, I'm Dave Van Camp, president of Vans Industrial. Vans Industrial is an industrial millwright contractor that can install new mechanical systems or repair existing systems. Our services include repair of bearings, shafts, shiv alignments, as well as installation of conveyors and bucket elevators. Our team of trained mechanics will respond to your emergency calls 24/7, keeping your systems operational. We're here to help you.
Call 219-931-4881 today for a free inspection of your facility. Interested in what else they do? Visit vansindustrial.com. That's VANS industrial.com. Quality craftsmanship since 1964.
Home isn't just a place, it's a feeling. Whether you're at home, your business, or online, ADT helps keep you safe. With security systems, home automation, alarms, and surveillance, so you can feel at home wherever you are. Go to ADT.com to get that feeling. ADT, home, safe home.
Finding great people to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. It's time to try ZipRecruiter, where 80% of jobs get a qualified candidate in just one day. How? Using powerful technology, ZipRecruiter matches your job to the right candidates fast. So, while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, only ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/free for your free trial. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
If you have pain, listen up. Dennis Prager here. You don't need to live in pain. Let me repeat that. You don't have to live in pain. Chronic pain is the worst, whether it's from an accident or pain that just develops. So, Chicagoland, you're in luck. Dr. Ken Candido is one of the nation's most respected and successful pain doctors. He's been voted one of Chicago's best pain doctors several times. Bottom line, he's the pain doctor you need. Dr. Candido of Chicago Anesthesia and Pain Specialists will help you get off pain medication and all of its side effects. How? By finding the source of your chronic pain and fixing it.
This is Ken Candido of Chicago Anesthesia Pain Specialists. Let's make you pain-free.
Call Dr. Ken Candido and make an appointment with a cutting-edge, respected, and successful pain physician. Go to mypainchicago.com. That's mypainchicago.com. Thousands have been helped with their chronic pain, and you can be the next one. Get the phone number and all the info you need at mypainchicago.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Power Trading Radio. Heard Sundays at 2 p.m. Brought to you each week by Online Trading Academy.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Good morning, Dan, and in for Amy this morning, Sean from Elmwood Park. And the question is the future of America capitalism for the few and socialism for the many? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. This on the cusp of Democrat Socialists of America claiming to have more than 25,000 members, making it the largest socialist group in the United States since World War II.
Led by Bernie Sanders.
Comrade Bernie to you, sir.
Well, I'll tell you something. It's disgusting to me that this is open, and they're openly saying to you, we are against everything America was built on. And they now are getting, I think that's really low. What's the difference between a socialist and a Democrat? Can you tell me? Can you tell me what the fundamental difference is between the socialist Louis Gutierrez, Rahm Emanuel, J.B. Pritzker, and any communist that we originally went to war with?
Pace.
Okay, I like it.
And, this, so that's a data point about the rise of Democrat Socialists of America, juxtaposed to this interview Sunday in Vox.com with Eric Weinstein, who's the managing director at Peter Thiel's investment firm. Peter Thiel, the billionaire investor, Facebook, Trump fan, spoke at the convention. I
thought that was Archie Bunker's lawyer for a minute. Rabinowitz, and Weinstein?
No.
All right.
Boy, nice All in the Family reference.
Hey, why not?
Don't get a lot of those.
Been waiting to pull it out.
And it's not surprising that you would make an All in the Family reference either. So Weinstein, who's actually the brother of Evergreen State College professor Brett Weinstein.
Oh.
So make that connection. Very interesting. So
who gets a subsidy in that family? Somebody's got to get a green subsidy there.
Well, Weinstein's so Eric Weinstein, the managing director of Thiel's investment firm, billionaire.
Self-loathing billionaire.
He's arguing that that's what's going to happen. Capitalism for the brightest and socialism for everyone else.
Well, that's how it always works.
It doesn't have to. It's not always worked that way in this country.
Really? Progressive tax.
That was when was the income tax?
1913.
So it didn't always work that way in this country.
Oh, no, right. But for the last 104 years, we've been kind of fighting an uphill battle here, brother.
That was a flat tax, by the way, in 1913. I believe capitalism will need to be much more unfettered, says Weinstein. Certain fields will need to undergo a process of radical deregulation in order to give the minority of minds that are capable of our greatest feats of creation the leeway to experiment and to play as they deliver us the wonders on which our future economy will be based. By the same token, we have to understand that our population is not a collection of workers to be input to the machine of capitalism, but rather a nation of souls whose dignity, well-being, and health must be considered on independent humanitarian terms. Now, it doesn't mean we can't afford to indulge in national welfare of a kind that would rob our most vulnerable of a dignity that has been previously supplied by the workplace. Yeah. People will have to be engaged in socially positive activities, but not all of those socially positive activities may be able to command a sufficient share of the market to consume it at an appropriate level. And so I think we're going to have to augment the hyper-capitalism, which will provide the growth of the hyper-socialism based on both dignity and need. How about that science fiction?
It's right out of 1865. I mean, that's pretty much a Lenin speech. But the more important thing is he kind of shows you a little leg there. Because what he's telling you without saying it is the Ponzi scheme we're now living in, which is a Ponzi scheme, needs to be funded somewhere. So unregulated for the people who can actually fund the Ponzi scheme we now call the American economy. Because, Dan, it's a Ponzi scheme. And every few months, a debt ceiling gets increased. We're just not talking about it the way we did under Obama, but the trajectory of our economy has not moved.
I mean, what is Eric Weinstein saying, though? What he's really talking about is a vanguard class. I mean, he's talking about sort of neo-feudalism.
Or
right?
He's describing the last 30 years.
And I mean, it's neo-feudalism, but that's borderless, right? It's not mercantilist. It's free trade. I mean, it's mercantilist in the sense of using the government, but potentially to advance the interests of the vanguard class. But it's to say, here's Silicon Valley, and we get to do whatever we want because we're the benighted, and we've got the big ideas, and we've got the big resources that accrue to our big ideas. So you need to let us bring you the wonders of the world, hoi polloi. And then in exchange for letting us operate in an unfettered way, we'll provide the social welfare that you need. And we may, because again, we understand incentives because we're entrepreneurs. So instead of allowing you to be robbed of your dignity and your soul through the depredations of the welfare state, what we'll do is drive you into kind of national service type activities. You'll volunteer at a homeless shelter. You'll do something that has other social redeeming quality with respect to serving your fellow man, and we'll compensate you for it.
Because he believes there's a dignity in people on welfare, right? Because if it's anything people who've never had welfare understand is it gives you dignity.
You're talking past the issue.
Right.
Here's what he's saying. We're going to pipe people into different channels, the way that, frankly, caste systems like India do. Here's the people that are going to this premier university, and those that don't make the grade, you're funneled into one of a couple of other different options that are limited and determined by us as having socially redeeming quality, and we're going to incentivize you to be a volunteer, if you will, by saying, we'll make sure you have X amount. We'll make sure that you get by. You won't have to worry about your next paycheck. You won't have to worry about your next meal. You won't have to worry about the basics of life.
It's exactly what the Soviet Union did.
What they promised, not what they did.
Right. Well, it never really works the way they describe it. But this is the point that we've been doing really, I think, for the last maybe 20 years, is that we're re-arguing the Enlightenment, right? This guy is squashing the Enlightenment. He's basically saying that we get to decide what you people will do with your lives, how you will live. I mean, he's basically organizing society because he is part of that rare collective, that few.
But it's interesting because it's not the hard power of central planning; it's the soft power of incentivizing outcomes.
It's the velvet hammer.
But it's interesting because he's going to be able. I mean, that's.
You think he'll sell it because of his position?
I think you can sell this to a lot of people. Who are happy to trade security, economic security, for freedom.
That's the shiver the last election should show you. You should have that up your leg, that shiver of Bernie Sanders.
And this is not to denigrate people that don't make a lot of money and devote their lives to philanthropy, true public service in the private sector, working for a social service provider that serves the disabled and so forth. This is not to denigrate. The question is, do you want a system manipulated by the very well-educated and the very accomplished in terms of wealth production that accrues to them, in control of the power of the state, such as they present incentives that limit the choices of people they deem as not the brightest to have access to the unfettered practice of capitalism that they demand for themselves?
And the answer to your question is 62% of the people in a poll taken I think it was 2 weeks ago, said yes, they do. So we now are. What are we really arguing about with what's happening now? A mobocracy of sorts. We're no longer arguing the fundamentals of freedom versus socialism. We're just arguing the details.
312-642-5600 turnkey.pro answer line, 646-360-ADA turnkey.pro text line. This dovetails beautifully. You want to hear what they're thinking? The Illinois Democrat Royals. You want to hear what
Can I punch somebody?
Hear what they're thinking. They won't say it. But I'll tell you what, we got the guy who's organizing the Cal exit, make California its own country, leave the United States. He was on with Tucker Carlson, Shankar Singham. Listen to what he has to say first about California.
Well, this is California, Tucker. We're not the United States. Our values are different. We're fundamentally different in the way we act, we speak, and how we think about the world globally, whether it has to do with war, the climate, environment. We are just a different state.
Uh-huh.
Well, he's hard to argue with when you think of the majority.
Well, there's some inadvertent truths there, but this is the most important one. And tell me if, this is not what the royals, the political royals in this state are thinking about middle-income families.
It's basically the economy of Mexico. You've got a small number of rich people, the tech people, and you've got a ton of poor people, and the middle class is leaving. That's a recipe for instability. You're aware of that, right?
In regards to middle class leaving, that's actually a good thing We need these spots opened up for the new wave of immigrants to come up. It's what we do. We're exporting our middle class to the United States. You guys should be thanking us for that. Not only that, when our middle class does move out to Texas and to Colorado, they're taking our values out to the United States and to Texas. So if you look at Texas, in fact, all the major cities that Californians are going to, they are turning blue. And soon enough, Texas will be a blue state.
Socialism is a cancer, and it's metastasized.
Is he right that, what we need to do is export the middle-income family to other states so that we can make room for the new wave of immigrants? Is that not, in practice, what you see from Chicago Democrat panjandrums in this state?
Of course it is. And it works. Their philosophy. The problem with this whole thing is this diabolical plot to overthrow freedom. It's working.
Well, here's the other thing, too. It's so important what he said, what he admitted, because he's being honest, and I appreciate, as Tucker Carlson did, Mr. Singham's honesty. When they tell you they're doing this for middle-income families, that's like when they tell you they're doing something for the kids.
Oh.
They don't want independent, productive people because that is a threat to the concentration of political power. And so get out, fine. Get out, middle-income families in Illinois, say Chicago Democrats, because we're very well situated with the Champagne Socialists and with the state dependents, and that's all we need for political power in perpetuity. Look at what California has become. Candace in DuPage, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning, guys. Thanks for taking my call. Don't you think, Dan and Sean, that basically that is their class, is the public sector class? They already march to whatever the Democrats say. They already protest for them. They already have their agenda being brought out every single week in the schools. It seems like to me that's what this writer kind of talking about.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Candace. I mean, the public sector union heads, at minimum, are part of this royalty class.
Who are the real scoundrels of the whole thing, who completely skim. That's American communism. And that's my gripe against unions in general. Mediocrity at very high prices. Well, the whole time you've built in another class of people who skim off the actual labor and skim off the actual producer and pretend to be the virtuous, the whole time being the biggest slime in the threesome.
Ken and Lombard, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning. Sean, you want to know the difference between communism and socialism.
Do you finally have an answer for me, brother?
From my viewpoint, when I was stationed in Europe 35 years ago, I come to this conclusion that this communist state assumes full control and pretty much full responsibility for what goes on. Whether they have their meetings, local provincial meetings with the commissars, representatives in the case of the Soviet Union from the Politburo, whether it be and with the proletariat, the working class, they do have provincial meetings, and things are more or less hashed out. What goes on in socialism, and you see people like your weasel mayor being the benefit of this, they provide the rules, the regulations, and manipulate and control the private sector, yet they don't assume the responsibility for executing that. And so when things go wrong, the private sector is the whipping boy for people like Emmanuel.
Yeah, thanks.
It's perverted and twisted is what it is.
Thanks for the call, Ken. And I mean, there's a great example of exactly what Ken's talking about. Dick Durbin last week saying, if the private health insurance market can't, and the insurance companies can't get the private market right, then we're going to have to do single payer.
I love it. It's just the slow growth of the same result without consequences.
Mark in Valpo, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, Dan, I called a couple weeks ago, and I had expressed my opinion that I didn't want people from Illinois moving into Indiana.
Yeah.
And now you're talking about the exact reason why I don't want people from Illinois bailing into Indiana and turning my nice, beautiful red state blue.
Yeah, I hear you, Mark. But the good news is that it's productive people leaving Illinois that are actually inclined to want to adopt the political culture of Indiana because they're fleeing this political culture.
Yeah, well, Indiana is complex. It's a beautiful state after you're in it for a while. But when you first get in it, when you're leaving Chicago on 65, it smells like gas and oil. I mean, I don't like. I can't wait to get out of the whole state.
There's the big refinery there.
Yeah, just leave everybody there. Let them all stop there. Don't go to Florida. I don't want the Democrats to move to Florida. That's all I care about.
Well, Indiana's a lot more red than Florida is.
Is it really? Well, I'm on the
Sure
West
it
Coast.
is.
I'm on the. You might be right because I'm on the Southwest Coast and I sell in both coasts. When I go over to the Fort Lauderdale side, it is like a mini Illinois. You're right.
George in Libertyville.
Man, this is really scary, guys. You guys are on a really, really important topic, and exactly like that Ken guy said, this is exactly what's going on with health insurance. The Democrats completely screwed the pooch, and now it's the Republicans' fault. And as far as immigration, how can you continue to have the immigration policy we have, and then not have people trade freedom for security? It's we might as well just stamp Venezuela right on the United States.
Thanks for the call, George. And that stamp should be right here next to Lake Michigan.
Yeah, I like what George says about Venezuela because we have adopted their health care policy. The promise of their health care in the 90s that they gave their citizens is exactly the platform of not just Obamacare, but of Republican care, Trump care. But where, I think he's wrong a little bit is when he says that the outcome is of immigration is the problem. I don't think the immigrant is the problem. I think what you give the American citizen for nothing is the problem. I think you want to fix immigration.
He's talking about people here illegally. He's not talking about immigrants.
I understand.
Or immigration.
But the problem with the illegal immigrant is what? They take benefits that we give away to our citizens for free. So I don't think we should give those away.
Yeah, fine. And we've talked on this show before. You want to expedite your entry into this country and prove you're here to add value and make a better life for yourself in the process. Great. Waive access to welfare state benefits. They're not constitutional rights. So that's the issue. But the other issue with the illegal immigrants we talk about all the time because so few other people do is predators that are here and come back repeatedly.
No argument. But what's the percentage of that versus the real problem, what's tearing us down? Look at your school in Illinois. Everything's about the schools. Why does anybody get to send their kid to school for free? It's outrageous. Pay for your kid.
Nobody sends their school
everybody else
to school
pays
for free.
Yeah.
Well, you're sending your kid to school, you're paying property taxes, which is in most places the preponderance of the preponderant source of school funding. So nobody's sending their kids to school for free.
Well, that's my argument. Why is it attached to property?
Well, that's a whole other discussion.
But it's the main one.
I agree. Mike on the north side.
Good morning. Thanks for taking my call. First off, you don't pay for public schools. You might pay $3,000 of your property taxes to the public school, but if you have two kids there, you're getting $32,000 a year in benefits. So that doesn't cover the cost.
Well,
I called because I wanted to go back to what you said about the unions. I'm sure they're benevolent and they look out for everybody. Just like when Dennis Gannon, running the Chicago Federation of Labor, took a $180,000 a year job on the board of directors of Blue Cross Blue Shield and kept United Healthcare from offering benefits and medical plans to the members of the Chicago Federation of Labor. And when Gerald O'Sullivan, the international president of the Labor's Union, took Man of the Year honors from Sinn Féin and the IRA, I'm sure he was doing it for all the good reasons.
Thanks, Mike.
Connect with Dan and Amy using the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
Today's very exciting. We're going to have some sun with a shower. You're going to get a little bit of everything, and there possibly could be a thunderstorm. It's going to be an array of weather today. The high is going to be 84. Tonight, the low, 68. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy and humid. In the AM, thunderstorms in spots, then a strong thunderstorm later on. High 83. Tomorrow night, 63. Now we're going to go to Jim Telemonte, who admitted, Jim, you missed me just a little bit when I'm not here.
Great to hear you, Sean. Good morning. Good morning, Dan. Right now, things look great in northwest Indiana. No delays of significance to report on 8094, the Indiana Toll Road, or I-65. Eastbound 94, mile marker 22. The exits to eastbound and westbound 20 are closed till tomorrow morning for construction. Eden's 21 minutes, Lake Cook to the junction, outbound 20. Kennedy, 23 minutes, O'Hare to downtown, outbound 21. Mount Eisenhower, 42 minutes. Thorndale to the post office, outbound 33. Stevenson, 46 minutes, 3:55 to the drive. The Rhine is 23 minutes, 95th to downtown. I-57, Bishop Ford, both 20 minutes. I-80 to the merge. Northbound Tri-State, heavy 95th to LaGrange Road, and from the Reagan Tollway to North Avenue. Jim Talamonte in the Alarm Detection Systems Traffic Center.
Upstream-ideas.com, premium content that enhances what we do on this show each morning. It's our digital platform featuring original content, 60 seconds of sanity commentaries by me, 2-minute warnings about bad actors in public office in Illinois from Pat Hughes at the Illinois Opportunity Project. Our new series, Heart of the Matter, which is women speaking colleague to colleague about the salient issues of the day. This week they're talking about the household budget impact on the recently passed tax hikes in Illinois that took effect July 1st, as well as long-form interviews with opinion leaders and policymakers, the latest edition of Against the Current featuring Cook County Board of Review Commissioner Dan Patlack talking about property taxation in the region. You can get it all at upstream-ideas.com.
I have actually been on Balance of Nature for a year now. I have MS, and I recently had an MRI. This is the first year that I've had a stable MRI, so I'm thrilled. When I have an MRI with MS, usually there are glowing spots that come through, which is damage on the nerves in my brain and my spinal cord, and when they're glowing, it means they're active. And then my last MRI, they pulled it up, and I honestly couldn't believe that it was my MRI. There was nothing glowing. And in fact, the dark spots were shrinking. They were healing. And the doctor actually said to me, I think we're in remission. I was so happy. I had no idea that that could be my reality.
Take Dr. Howard's Health Challenge and find out how to get 2 free sets of fruits and veggies. We'll even ship them to you free. Call now for details. Call 1-800-2468-751 or go online to balanceofnature.com. Use promo code Chicago.
Hey guys, Ken here from the award-winning podcast Today's Growth. If you had to choose sides, which camp would you rather be in? Would you rather have time and no money, or money and no time? Did you know that 95% of U.S. adults by choice have settled into these categories? Much more interesting is that 1 out of 20 people have built their life around achieving simultaneous control of both time and money. What choices did these 5% make that the others didn't? My friends at Income Store have shown both households and businesses how to build second, third, and even fourth revenue streams for the express purpose of gaining control of time. When it comes to helping folks create their next revenue model, both Forbes and Inc. recommend Income Store as a can't miss. Could your household or business use an additional revenue model that doesn't solely depend on you? If so, you need to check out IncomeStore.com. That's IncomeStore.com.
Go to IncomeStore.com today. That's IncomeStore.com.
As a parent, you want what's best for your children. That means sending them to a school where they'll get the superior education they deserve, and that also shares your values. That can be tricky these days, as public schools have changed and private schools can be expensive. Your household budget has already been cut to the bone, and it's hard to imagine where you'll find that extra money. Well, there's help to lessen that financial burden and provide your child with the very best education at half the cost. At AM 560 The Answer, we work with private schools throughout the Chicagoland area to provide tuition for families at half the normal cost. Just log on to halfpriceschools.com and you'll find some of Chicagoland's finest private schools, from preschool all the way through high school, at half the cost. And chances are there's a school right in your neighborhood. Invest in your child's education and future at halfpriceschools.com. A limited number of half-price vouchers are available. Go to halfpriceschools.com now.
When you're hiring for a growing business, you don't need lots of candidates. You need the right candidates. You need Indeed.com. With an algorithm that positions your job post where quality candidates are and screener questions that help you zero in on the best talent. Indeed.com, the site proven through an independent study to deliver 5 times more hires than any other. New users claim your $50 credit for a sponsored job at Indeed.com/credit. Indeed, the world's #1 job site. Terms, conditions, and quality standards apply.
Weeds love your garden. They hide near flowers knowing you can't touch them. Now you can with Roundup Weed and Grass Killer with Sure Shot Wand from the Home Depot. A special buy at just $19.97. The protective shield means pinpoint accuracy, so you can target weeds without harming surrounding plants. With Roundup in hand, weeds are in trouble. Roundup Weed and Grass Killer with Sure Shot Wand, just $19.97, now at the Home Depot. More saving, more doing. Valid through August 2nd while supplies last, U.S. only.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan and Sean from Elmwood Park in for Amy this morning, and news out yesterday that freshly minted Chief of Staff General John Kelly is reaching out to top Democrats to try and resuscitate Trump's legislative agenda. We'll get Chris Whipple's take on that at 6:36. He's an Emmy-winning producer of 60 Minutes and the author of a book about White House Chief of Staffs, past and present.
Can we use the Dr. Strangelove clip now or no?
We'll use that after we check the headlines with Mike Scott.
70, sunshine in the Nissan of St. Charles newsroom. Nissan of St. Charles, home of the Lifetime Advantage warranty. The military says it carried out a test launch of an intercontinental ballistic missile this morning. Came just days after the latest North Korean missile test. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson says the U.S. is not seeking regime change in North Korea.
We do not seek the collapse of the regime. We do not seek an accelerated reunification of the peninsula. We do not seek an excuse to send our military north of the 38th parallel.
Tillerson saying the U.S. would like to sit down and have a successful dialogue with the North. A few Republicans and Democrats in Congress are trying to reform Obamacare. GOP Senator Lamar Alexander leading that charge, along with Democrat Patty Murray of Washington. Portland, Oregon could see record-setting heat today. Highest temperature ever officially recorded in Portland was 107 decades ago. Forecasters say the mercury could hit 109. Christopher Wray will be running the FBI.
On this nomination, the yeas are 92, the nays are 5. The nomination is confirmed.
The Senate confirming Wray replacing fired FBI Chief James Comey. The Illinois Retail Merchants Association is appealing a judge's decision to dismiss a lawsuit that temporarily blocked Chicago area's sweetened beverage tax imposed by Cook County. City of Chicago being sued over the way it administers tickets received by drivers caught using their cell phones behind the wheel. The suit was filed yesterday in Cook County Circuit Court. It alleges Chicago took the cases to municipal administrative court for years in a bid to keep all resulting fines rather than sharing that money with the county and the state. A 93-year-old judge who issued rulings on everything from desegregation to prisoners' rights is retiring after nearly 4 decades on the federal bench. Chicago's U.S. District Court announcing that Milton Shader will be retiring effective next month. Among the thousands of cases he's presided over was a copyright lawsuit brought by Michael Jordan. Shader telling the Chicago Daily Law Bulletin he hadn't intended to retire, but complications from recent surgery changed his mind. Shader graduated from the University of Chicago at age 18 with a dual degree, math and physics. President Jimmy Carter appointed the World War II veteran to the bench in 1980. John Lester hit his first career home run as the Cubs lit up the Diamondbacks 16-4. Blue Jays over the White Sox 8-4. And the news is a service of NTB. Get your 5-quart conventional oil change today, just $19.99 plus $3 disposal fee. For tires, oil service, and repairs, National Tire and Battery, that's all you need. 6:34 and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Dennis Prager puts his record to the test.
The Russians were involved, but it wasn't about collusion. The president is entirely accurate. It's all been fake news. You've been bathing in it. It's all hysteria. The moment the press all maintain something, I assume it's false. I have never once in my career of 3 decades been proven wrong on this matter.
The Dennis Prager Show, weekdays at 11, right before Sean Hannity at 2 on AM 560. The Answer.
Home isn't just a place, it's the feeling of knowing you're safe. ADT lets you take that feeling with you. Learn more at ADT.com.
Message and data rates may apply.
Attention, it is illegal to text and drive. So if you're experiencing hair loss and you want a permanent solution, please pull over now, because an incredible offer that could give you your hair back is just one text away. Bosley is the world's most experienced hair restoration expert, always pioneering the latest technology. And now, we're giving everyone who texts GROW to 543-543, an absolutely free information kit that reveals just how easy and affordable this permanent solution really is. Don't wait. When you text GROW to 543-543, We'll also give you a gift card for $250 off. Millions of men and women have come to Bosley for a permanent solution to hair loss. So pull over now and see for yourself how great your hair could look with an absolutely free information kit. Text GROW to 543-543. Plus, get a free gift card. This amazing offer is just one text away. GROW to 543-543.
6:35. Let's check the roads in the Alarm Detection Systems Traffic Center with Jim Talamonte.
Thanks, Mike. On the inbound Edens, traffic is heavy from Devon to the junction. It's 22 minutes from Lake Cook to Montrose, outbound 21. The Kennedy, 27 minutes. O'Hare to downtown, outbound 24. Inbound Eisenhower delays start at Manheim, 47 minutes. Thorndale to the post office, outbound 34. Stevenson, 59 minutes, 355 to Lakeshore Drive, outbound 41. Bryan is 23 minutes, 95th to downtown. Northbound Tri-State, heavy from 115th to the Hinsdale Oasis, and from the Reagan Tollway to the Grand Avenue Curve. 8094 westbound, a little slow now from past Grant to Burr. Traffic is a service of Staples. With free next-day delivery from Staples, you can run your business like a pro. Go to staples.com for the office essentials you need delivered next day free. On eligible items only. It orders over $49.99, placed by 5 p.m. Excludes weekends and holidays. Staples, it's pro time. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm Jim Talamonte, AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast from the aircomfort.com Weather Center, providing the right climate for business since 1935. We'll have some sun this morning. Afternoon shower or thunderstorm possible with a high of 84. Mainly cloudy and 68 overnight. Currently 70 at O'Hare. Next news coming up at 7. And Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by the Alpha Wealth Group, bringing the trilogy of estate, tax, and investment planning together. Visit alphawealthgroup.com for a free report.
Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues now. And make sure to stay tuned to catch me, Mike Gallagher, coming up at 9, only on AM 560, The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Sean from Elmwood Park in for Amy this morning. And at the outset of the Trump administration, there was a lot of comparisons to Reagan, particularly as he was putting his cabinet together, which frankly rivals Reagan's in terms of its conservative quotient, probably more conservative. But there was a suggestion that maybe it would be a presidential troika that rode point in the White House the way that it did for Reagan, with Howard Baker as chief of staff and Michael Deaver and Ed Meese. And the three here being Bannon, Priebus, and Conway. Well, that hasn't worked out that way. 6 months in, and it really never materialized as advertised by some. And so what is the role of the chief of staff, particularly in this unique president and this unique presidency? And do we have historical context where we can suggest approaches that work and don't work, Twitter or no Twitter? For more on this topic, we're pleased to be joined by Chris Whipple, who is an Emmy-winning producer for 60 Minutes and the author of The Gatekeepers, How the White House Chiefs of Staff Define Every Presidency. Chris, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
So, kind of if you were advising General Kelly from your historical perspective, examining chiefs of staff from a bygone era, I'm not saying that General Kelly hasn't done similarly, but what would you say are best practices, almost regardless of the president, for the sake of argument?
Well, back in December, I wrote an epilogue for my book, The Gatekeepers, in which I said if Donald Trump does not empower a White House chief of staff as first among equals to execute his agenda and to tell him what he does not want to hear, then he has no chance at governing. I mean, this is a guy who, had no experience whatsoever with government, and who for the first 6 months thought he could run the White House the way he ran his family real estate empire, and it was a disaster. I mean, this White House is completely broken. And I guess what I would say to Kelly is that he has to, the big question is, will he be empowered with the authority that Priebus never had? And will everyone report through him to Donald Trump? Look, family is another thing. Ivanka Trump and and Jared Kushner can go directly, but he's got to have authority over the West Wing, and he's got to tell Donald Trump hard truths, and that's going to be the toughest part.
I have a question for you.
You have to put your mic on. Ask it.
Yeah, well, the kid is supposed to put the mic on. But I have a question for you, Chris. And by the way, I'm familiar with a lot of your work. I like it very much. But I do have a question for you. I felt the same way with Barack Obama. And what sickened me is when he brought in Bill Daley and Rahm Emanuel from the Chicago sewer. And we were supposed to pretend that that was going to be good. And being from Chicago, we kind of have a knowledge of what that means. So I'd like to think you were not attaching your opinion of Obama on these two scoundrels, were you?
Now, look, I got to disagree with you about Obama. I mean, I think Rahm was a pretty effective chief at the beginning, and I think Rahm was a guy who was not shy about telling Obama exactly what he thought. He was a guy who knew Capitol Hill and got a lot of stuff done, including the stimulus package. Obama needed to get a lot of stuff done. Daley, not so much. I think Bill Daley had a tougher time. He was he never really hit it off with Obama, and he had real friction with everybody else in the West Wing. So that was tough. But
so you think the stimulus package was a good thing?
Well, it's not about good or bad. It's about are you getting the president's agenda done?
Oh.
And to your point, Chris, Rahm, I call him Tiny Dancer. Rahm also persuaded the president not to pursue path to citizenship, the immigration reform that he campaigned on too. So I mean, he had real sway, and the president took his advice and counsel clearly.
Look, think about this. Ronald Reagan was hell-bent on pursuing Social Security reform as the first thing right out of the gates. Jim Baker, his White House chief, was savvy enough to know, as he put it, that that's the third rail of American politics. You touch it, you get electrocuted. He went to Reagan, turned him around on that. Reagan decided to go with tax cuts on the economy, and the rest is history. Now, imagine if Priebus, on day one, had told Donald Trump, forget about these ridiculous executive orders on immigration. You need to go sit down with Chuck Schumer and do an infrastructure deal that the Democrats will not be able to say no to. This might have been a very different presidency.
Well, and it's interesting you suggest bipartisanship out of the chute, because that's, I guess, where General Kelly is trying to go this week with a report out that he is visiting with top Democrats to try and, recast the president's agenda and enlist their open-mindedness.
6 months. That's the problem. I mean, this is a White House that is really broken, and at the very top, you've got a president who is completely undisciplined and unable to think before tweeting. And so you've got a really difficult job. And if I were Kelly, I'd be drawing a few red lines. I think I would be saying, look, if you're not going to give me prior approval on your tweets, which may be impossible, then you should know that the first time you tweet something that's a demonstrable lie, I will resign, and you'll be looking for Chief of Staff number 3.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, though, about the chaos in the White House, and I understand the point you're making, but you still have majorities in both chambers, and you still have the President of the United States, and you still have broad agreement on things like pursuing tax reform. And you even had Paul Ryan saying before last week's chaos that they seem to have a framework for tax reform that's agreed to in principle in the House. So the Democrats can't overplay.
We've heard a lot of this.
Yes, yeah, but the Democrats can't overplay the low pair that they're holding either. They've got their own internal struggles, and they're the minority party.
I'm not here to tell you that the Democrats have their act together here. What I'm here to tell you is that based on talking to all 17 living White House chiefs and looking at the history of the presidency over the last 50 years, this is far and away the most dysfunctional White House in history.
Yeah.
And it's a huge, huge challenge for anybody to put it together.
Well, that is the right adjective for the challenge, huge. So let me ask you this, though. Is the problem, it seems to me, from the outside looking in, you know better, particularly talking to all the chiefs that you talk to, is before Kelly, you had, it's kind of like nobody had responsibility, and so nobody really had authority. It's just kind of everybody doing their own thing and trying to advance what they think is right while running into conflict with everybody else, or at least, the kind of the half a dozen or so senior people trying to do the same. And you see this even with messaging, where before the mooch was relieved, he and Sarah Huckabee Sanders disagreeing on whether publicly on whether the president was going to sign the Russian sanctions bill or not.
Exactly. I mean, you had absolute unshirted chaos. And, this is a White House that has not been able to do anything right. It can't issue executive orders that are enforceable. It can't pass legislation. It can't prioritize the president's agenda. It can't get anybody on the same page. And, for us to expect that all to suddenly change because you've got a general in there is naive. I mean, the last general to be White House chief was Al Haig under Jerry Ford.
He's in charge.
After Nixon resigned, and he lasted a little more than a month.
Well, I like a general because one of my favorite movies is Moon Over Parador, and I find the similarities are astonishing. But in your opinion, who were the best duo?
James Baker, without question, was right at the top under Ronald Reagan. I got to put Leon Panetta right up there with him in the same company. Two other really good ones were, believe it or not, Dick Cheney, 34-year-old Dick Cheney under Gerald Ford. There's a great story in the book about how, Cheney back in those days was the toast of the town. He was the most popular guy in the city. Those guys, I think Baker and Panetta were the best, and one of the reasons was because they were grounded. They had been around the block. They were not just guys who barked out orders. They were smooth operators. Panetta was described as a guy with an iron fist inside a velvet glove. You have to be able to motivate your troops. You have to be able to speak hard truths to the president. It's exponentially more difficult than anything Kelly has done so far.
And it seems to me it's one of those things, though. Here's the fundamental problem, and this may be the fundamental problem for Kelly too, is you just can't work around the principle. Not at this level. You need buy-in from the principal, and to some extent, I wonder if there are lessons to be learned from Hamilton Jordan and Jimmy Carter, because it seemed to me that Hamilton Jordan was a sharp guy, a capable guy, a likable guy. This is just from reading some of his works before he passed away and trying and understanding a little bit about the Carter administration. But he couldn't get past the principle.
No, but the other thing is that Ham Jordan never wanted. It's a long story, which I tell in the book. But Jordan never wanted to be chief of staff in the first place and was never suited for it. He was a brilliant political strategist. He should have been Jimmy Carter's Karl Rove, but not the guy who was trying to make the trains run.
Yeah, I see.
The thing that's important here is that Jimmy Carter, it took him 2.5 years to realize that he had to have a functioning chief of staff. It took Bill Clinton 1.5 years to figure out that he needed to really empower a White House chief in the form of Leon Panetta. So, look, is there hope? Yeah. But, as I say, there's never been a White House this dysfunctional 6 months in, and there's no evidence so far that Trump has learned anything about how to govern.
All right, we shall see what General Kelly is able to effect. He is Chris Whipple, Emmy-winning producer for 60 Minutes, the author of The Gatekeepers, How the White House Chiefs of Staff Define Every Presidency. Chris, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, my pleasure.
And he joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper, hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
I could have asked them at least 10 more questions. Riveting. So today, there's going to be some sun with a shower or thunderstorm in spots this afternoon. The high is going to be 84. Tonight, mainly cloudy, low 68. This is great sleeping weather. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy and humid. In the AM, thunderstorms will be in spots, then a strong thunderstorm for all of us. High 83. Low tomorrow night, 63. Now we're going to go to Jim Telemonte, who this morning, I couldn't help but notice you were dressed like Dick Tracy. Is that just because of the weather, or what are you doing with that?
I think we're in different studios, Sean. Good morning. Good morning, Dan. Things are pretty light on the Edens right now. Just a little heavy inbound Devon to the junction. 22 minutes, Lake Cook to Montrose. Outbound 22 as well. Kennedy, 33 minutes, O'Hare to downtown, outbound 27. The Eisenhower is 47 minutes, Thorndale to the post office, 34 from Manheim. Outbound 39 to Thorndale. Stevens is heavy, an hour and 4 minutes, 3:55 to Lakeshore Drive. Outbound 45 minutes. The Ryan is 23 minutes, 95th to downtown. Northbound tri-state delays are from Southwest Highway to the Hinsdale Oasis and from the Reagan Tollway to the Grand Avenue Curve. Reagan Tollway a little slow approaching the Eisenhower. The Veterans Memorial now has stop-and-go traffic from Butterfield to Roosevelt. Jim Talamonte in the Alarm Detection Systems Traffic Center.
I'm Keith Peters in for Lou Dobbs. U.S. construction spending is down. Domestic car companies sang the blues in July, and Under Armour is cutting 2% of its staff. Those stories next.
Have you racked up more than $10,000 in credit card debt? Are you barely getting by making minimum payments? You should know. The credit card companies are tricking you into thinking there's no way out. Credit card companies would rather you didn't know that there are ways you can become debt-free and you don't have to pay the entire amount you owe. There are debt relief programs that help people like you escape overwhelming credit card debt. National Debt Relief has helped tens of thousands of people just like you reduce more than $500 million of debt. National Debt Relief has helped so many people. They're A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau. You don't have to declare bankruptcy or take out a consolidation loan. You have the right to settle your debt for a mere fraction of what you owe. Reduce a portion of your debt now. Call National Debt Relief at 800-975-5115. 800-975-5115. That's 800-975-5115.
Construction spending was down in June, according to the Commerce Department. Non-residential construction ticked upward, but other sectors were flat or down. Americans skipped 4th of July car sales, possibly looking ahead to bargains being offered by dealers on Labor Day. July car sales declined, with General Motors sales off over 15% from a year ago and Ford down over 7%. One bright spot ahead, average new car loans are at their lowest rate in 6 months. New report due out today on job creation. And sports apparel company Under Armour is reporting a 9% increase in revenue during the second quarter, but the Baltimore-based company is seeing signs of a slowdown, so it's cutting almost 2% of its workforce. Please join us for Lou Dobbs tonight at 7 and 11 Eastern on the Fox Business Network. I'm Keith Peters for the Lou Dobbs Financial Report.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies.
When I heard of Balance of Nature, and I said, because I had prayed, Lord, how am I going to get all this food into me that's so good to me? That's when I called. Now I know that I get my fruits and my vegetables into me, and I don't have to work so hard. I know that I am getting the proper things into my body. I do believe that if I didn't have this already in my body, my Balance of Nature, it wouldn't have gone so good for me. But because my body was healthy, that's what kept me going.
Take Dr. Howard's Health Challenge and find out how to get 2 free sets of fruits and veggies. We'll even ship them to you free. Call 1-800-2468-751. That's 1-800-2468-751. Or go online to balanceofnature.com. Use promo code CHICAGO.
Convenience, confidence, value. Experience all three when you bring your European vehicle to Midwest Performance Cars for maintenance and repair. BMW, Porsche, Audi, Mercedes. We make it convenient for you. Our drop-off procedure has most customers on their way in under 5 minutes, and we feature complimentary Uber or Lyft service to get you where you need to be. With our tablet-based digital inspections, you'll be confident that we only recommend service your car needs. We email or text your vehicle's condition report with pictures and video so you can make an informed decision. And our 3-year, 100,000-mile parts and labor warranty provides unmatched value. We perform outstanding service and we stand behind it. Read our Google reviews and see for yourself. In Chicago at 1385 West Lake Street, book your appointment online at MidwestPerformanceCars.com or call us at 312-432-9492. And coming this summer, we will be opening our second MPC location in Northbrook, Illinois.
Hi, Barry Sterner, founder of Townstone Financial. I want to answer some frequently asked home mortgage questions today. First, how much do I need for a down payment? There are 1% down payment programs currently running, as well as programs that will allow you to get the entire down payment as a gift. We also have programs where a family member can co-sign for the mortgage in order to help the borrower qualify. Do I need perfect credit to qualify for a loan? The answer is no. All these programs have restrictions, so please give me a call at 312-896-2110 and I'll be happy to go over them. Another question is, can I take cash out of my house to pay off high-interest credit card debt? The answer is yes, but you need to have enough equity in your house to make it happen. Why Townstone instead of the big banks? Because since 2002, we pride ourselves on beating the big banks on closing costs and interest rates every day. Remember, nobody values your home mortgage business more than Townstone. I guarantee it, and I own the company. So call 312-896-2110 or go to townstone.com.
Listen to the Townstone Financial Show Saturdays at 1 p.m. here on AM 560. Townstone Financial is an Indiana, Wisconsin, Illinois mortgage licensee 6629 and NMLS 136639.
Acme Home Insurance.
Yes, I'd like to make a claim.
What are you wanting to claim, sir?
My air conditioner broke down.
Sorry, but your home insurance doesn't cover air conditioner breakdowns.
So what do you cover?
Home damage from things like earthquakes, volcanoes, a zombie apocalypse.
A zombie apocalypse? But that'll never happen.
But if it did, you'd be covered, sir.
But not my air conditioner?
I'm afraid not.
But his air conditioner could have been covered with a home warranty from American Home Shield, plus major components of 20 other home systems and appliances, like his electrical system, plumbing, refrigerator, and more. For valuable free information, call 1-800-300-3861. Homeowners insurance can cover what might happen.
Zombies are coming!
But a home warranty helps cover what will happen.
Now the dryer won't work.
Be sure with the Shield. American Home Shield. For valuable free information, call 1-800-300-3861. That's 1-800-300-3861. 1-800-300-3861.
You hear my testimonial about Relief Factor all the time. I love sharing other ones for you as well, like Mary from Nevada, who writes, I used Relief Factor for pain in my right knee. I was amazed by how well it worked. Relief Factor has helped tremendously, especially during my physical therapy. We get notes like this every single day. I get emails from people all over the country who are so grateful that I told them about Relief Factor. Relief Factor is the product that you can take 2-3 times a day. I take a pack in the morning, a packet in the evening, and my lower back pain is completely gone. It does work. Don't just take my word for it. Give it a try. Go to ReliefFactor.com. Sign up for the 3-week quick start. For $19.95, you can try Relief Factor for 3 weeks. $19.95, 3 weeks. That's 95 cents a day. Or you could give them a call, 800-500-8384. Be sure to tell them Mike Gallagher told you to call, 800-500-8384. Try Relief Factor. Get that pain relief you deserve. ReliefFactor.com.
Maxon Shooter Supplies is raising the bar for Chicagoland, proudly serving the community as Chicagoland's premier gun shop and indoor shooting range. Maxon is Illinois' first 5-star range and one of only 66 nationwide. Maxon offers 20 state-of-the-art indoor lanes and is the leading firearms instruction center in the area. Stop by this Sunday, August 6th for Glock Day. Try out the full line of Glock handguns for only $10. There will be free food, a gun raffle, and all Glock firearms will be on sale. Buy a ticket for a chance to win a brand new Glock 19. Maxon Shooter Supply is conveniently located just north of O'Hare at 75 East Brad Rock Drive in Des Plaines. More information about Glock Day can be found at MaxonShooters.com. That's MAXON Shooters.com. Or you can call 847-298-4867. That's 847-298-4867 or MAXONShooters.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
Getting a lot of reaction to our interview with Chris Whipple from 60 Minutes about White House Chief of Staffs and his criticisms based on interviewing chiefs of staff of the chaos in the Trump White House. I don't think he's wrong. Ari in Des Plaines, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning. I just wanted to comment that I don't think any chief of staff will be successful until the influence of Jared and Ivanka is curbed. The fact is that if this level of nepotism is unacceptable, if Hillary had won and she allowed Chelsea to have this level of influence, we would be screaming bloody murder.
Thanks for the Ari. We got to jump. Sorry. Thanks for the call, though. I appreciate it. I suspect that General Kelly is very, very well aware of the influence Ivanka and Jared have, and that had to be part of the conversation before he took the job.
Ari's right. Can you imagine if this was Chelsea? Come on. We'd be losing our minds.
Coming up at 7:07, we're going to talk to State Senator Dan McConkey about Governor Rauner's mandatory veto of the school funding bill that Dems sent to his desk. But now we check the headlines with Mike Scott.
Dan and Sean, here are the stories we're watching as well. Retailers are appealing a judge's ruling on the Cook County soda tax. And Illinois lifting a ban on some carnival rides. Cubs' John Lester hits his first home run. WIND Chicago News Time, 7.
It flew over 4,000 miles. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. The U.S. test launched its own intercontinental ballistic missile early this morning, days after North Korea tested another missile that could potentially reach America. Fox's Rachel Sutherland live in Washington.
Dave, a Minuteman III missile traveled from California over the Pacific to a target, a test the Air Force says was planned, even as U.S. officials weigh the options for dealing with a nuclear North Korea.
We do not seek a regime change. We do not seek the collapse of the regime.
Secretary of State Rex Tillerson said yesterday that North Korea is not our enemy, but that the rogue nation is threatening the United States. Republican Senator Lindsey Graham said this morning President Trump believes military action is inevitable if North Korea continues its aggression. Dave.
Rachel, a suicide bomber hit a NATO convoy today, causing casualties in Afghanistan, but the U.S. isn't saying if those are deaths or injuries or if Americans are among the victims. A witness says the force of the blast knocked him out. Then he awoke to hear helicopters and saw soldiers being taken away from the scene. We don't know yet when he'll be sworn in, but the FBI has a new director confirmed by the Senate.
Christopher Wray enjoyed bipartisan support and accolades after promising to keep the FBI independent and free from politics. Wray will replace James Comey, who was fired by President Trump in May. Comey told Congress he believes he was dismissed because of the investigation into Russia's role in the 2016 election. On Capitol Hill, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
The president keeps urging Senate Republicans not to give up on health care reform. His budget director, Mick Mulvaney, says
Obamacare's still broken. It was just as broken today as it was last week. In fact, more so.
But the Senate may be moving on to tax reform next after Labor Day. You don't see this often. A 17-year-old American on a flight from Panama to San Francisco opened an emergency door right after landing yesterday and slid out of the plane, down the wing, and ran onto the airport tarmac until a ground crew stopped him and held the boy for police. Fox News, fair and balanced.
70 degrees, mostly sunny skies at 7:02. On AM 560, The Answer. Good morning, I'm Mike Scott in the Nissan of St. Charles newsroom. Nissan of St. Charles, home of the Lifetime Advantage warranty. 4 are in stable condition following a shooting in Chicago's Humboldt Park neighborhood. Police say the victims were on a porch last night in the 800 block of North Monticello Avenue when someone walked up and shot them. No arrests have been made. The Illinois Retail Merchants Association is appealing a judge's decision to dismiss a lawsuit that temporarily blocked the Chicago area's sweetened beverage tax. The penny per ounce tax imposed by Cook County, originally slated to begin July 1st, was delayed by the suit. It's now scheduled to go into effect on Wednesday. Democrat House Speaker Mike Madigan says Republican Governor Bruce Rauner's veto of a school funding bill is choosing crisis over compromise. Rauner used his constitutionally provided amendatory veto powers to rewrite portions of that bill that overhauls how the state distributes money to schools. Rauner and his staff object to pension bailouts and other block grant money for the Chicago public schools. The move may threaten whether all districts statewide get money before the school starts, and that plan returns to the legislature for more crafting. Former Illinois Congressman Aaron Schock's attorneys accuse federal investigators of misconduct. Their probe against the Republican want the charges against him dismissed. In a motion filed yesterday in U.S. District Court, Schock's lawyers claim prosecutors made false and misleading statements of fact to witnesses concerning Schock's conduct. Prosecutors have accused Schock of illegally being reimbursed with government money for lavish spending. John Lester hit his first career home run. Cubs beat the Diamondbacks 16-4. Josh Donaldson powered the Blue Jays to an 8-4 win over the White Sox with a home run and driving in 3. The news, a service of Boost Mobile. Switch to Boost and get 2 lines with 3 gigs of 4G LTE data per line for only $50. Plus, get up to 2 free LGX power phones, all powered by the fast and reliable Sprint nationwide network. Boost makes it easy to switch. Switching makes it easy to save. 7:04 and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Larry Elder says the media is overlooking yet another Democratic scandal.
This Debbie Wasserman Schultz IT thing, because it seems to me if this were a Republican scandal, I dare suggest that MSNBC and CNN would be all over this. Yet the mainstream media does not seem to be terribly interested in this issue. Wonder why.
The Larry Elder Show, weeknights at 7, right before Jay Sekulow at 9 on AM 560. The Answer.
Home isn't just a place, it's a feeling that you're safe to enjoy the things that matter most. ADT lets you take that feeling with you, whether you're at home, your business, or online. We help keep you safe with security systems, home automation, alarms, and surveillance, so you can feel at home wherever you are. Go to ADT.com to get that feeling for less than $1 a day. ADT. Home, safe home.
Finding great people to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. It's time to try ZipRecruiter, where 80% of jobs get a qualified candidate in just one day. How? Using powerful technology, ZipRecruiter matches your job to the right candidates fast. So, while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, only ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/free for your free trial. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
7:06, and let's get a check of the roads in the Alarm Detection Systems Traffic Center with Jim.
Thanks, Mike. 8094 traffic is heavy westbound from past Grant to Clyde Avenue. Eden's inbound, delays start at Devon. 22 minutes either way between Lake Hook and the junction. The Kennedy, 34 minutes O'Hare to downtown, 15 from Montrose, 13 in the Express. Outbound 32 minutes from downtown to the airport. Inbound Eisenhower, 53 minutes Thorndale to downtown, 37 from Manheim. Outbound it's 40 to Thorndale. Stevenson an hour, 3:55 to Lakeshore Drive, outbound 47 minutes. Ryan is 23 minutes, 95th to downtown. I-57, 22 minutes, I-80 to the merge, Bishop 426. Northbound Lakeshore Drive, heavy Roosevelt to Jackson. Northbound Tri-State jammed, 115th to the Hinsdale Oasis, and from the Reagan Tollway to the Grand Avenue curve. Reagan Tollway slow from the Tri-State to the Ike, Veterans Memorial slow. 63rd most to the way to Roosevelt, and Army Trail to Lake. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm Jim Talamonte on AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast from the AirComfort.com Weather Center, providing the right climate for business since 1935. Here's our meteorologist, Chris Morelli.
Today, periods of clouds and sunshine with a shower or thunderstorm in spots this afternoon, high 84. Mainly cloudy skies tonight, low 67. Thursday, mostly cloudy and humid, look for a high of 82. I'm Chris Morelli on AM 560, The Answer.
Currently, 72. Next news update, 7:30. Continuous news coverage at 560theanswer.com. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next with Sean from Elmwood Park filling in for Amy this morning on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by MyPainChicago.com. World-class treatment for chronic pain. Go to MyPainChicago.com.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Good morning, Dan, and in for Amy this morning is Sean from Elmwood Park. And yesterday, Governor Rauner finally got the Senate Bill 1, which was the school funding bill that was crafted by and passed by Chicago Democrats in the General Assembly.
Let me guess, we're all paying more.
He mandatorily vetoed it. And here's a little perspective on the back and forth between Democrats and Republicans on this topic.
Can I play a part?
Can you play a part?
Yeah, I thought you were going to read what they say. I'll be the Democrat socialist. You be the Republican ne'er-do-well.
The Democrats saying Rauner is just playing politics. The feeling downstate is very hostile toward Chicago. He is receiving great support from downstate on this anti-Chicago stand. Downstaters feel, why should they do anything for Chicago? Let the city bail itself out.
But that's not the plan.
Madigan, Democrats, saying their plan would keep the city schools open. They need $225 million to keep operating, to keep the pension funds afloat. Actually, what I'm referencing is a story from the Tribune in 1979.
The more things change, the more they stay the same.
Thompson denial of school bailout is political. It was Jerry Cosentino making the arguments you're hearing today. Jerry Cosentino, the state treasurer that ultimately went to prison.
Huh.
Of course he did.
Thank God. Do we still pay them the pension when they go to prison? Because that would be expensive.
Yes, you got to move to remove their pensions upon their conviction for a felony. That's what we had to do with George Ryan, for example, Rod Blagojevich as well.
Yeah.
So here's Jerry Cosentino, the state treasurer, in 1979, Democrat, talking about Jim Thompson, the Republican governor at the time. Thompson is playing politics with respect to school funding. The feeling downstate is very hostile to Chicago. Thompson receiving great support from downstate in his anti-Chicago stand and so forth. $225 million CPS needed in 1979.
Because it was always predicated on a fraud. And what they learned is the longer you stick with the fraud, the faster we are going to bail them out. Come on, Prof. You know
the numbers have just gotten bigger. The rhetoric has not changed. It is the same Chicago Democrat mau-mauing of Republicans to bail out CPS. It's the same Democrats doing it largely since Cullerton and Madigan have both been there for 40 years.
Yeah, Madigan didn't look like Skeletor back then. He's looking terrible.
So do you ever stop buying this routine from Democrats? Do you ever want to get off the hamster wheel of writing blank checks to CPS and continuing to write blank checks to CPS regardless of performance, regardless of any accountability with respect to what they did with the other blank checks that you wrote from generations gone by? It's just incredible. 1979, almost 40 years later, it is exactly the same demagoguery from Democrats.
You're not just rewarding the failure, you're rewarding the corruption. Chicago is the iceberg that's taking down Illinois.
Chicago Public Schools to pay $850 million in interest on a $500 million loan.
That's the great. How do I get on the other side of that? Can I get on the guy lending them the money? You guys are terrible. Here's more money. Because they know they're going to get more money in interest. It's just the scam that keeps on paying. It's the fraud that keeps on paying.
$850 million in interest on a $500 million loan.
That's like $50 a family, isn't it? I read somewhere it was like 50. This new loan, $50 a family.
40 years at least. But we're to believe that the problem with CPS, their bankruptcy, financially, morally, and every other measure, all is the guy who got here in 2015's fault.
How come no one's asking for Jim Thompson's take on this? I mean, he's still got the same Zanza belts on. He could probably remember the argument.
So Rauner's amendatory veto of Senate Bill 1 yesterday now returns the bill to the Senate, where you've got three options for the General Assembly, just to do a quick civics lesson before we talk to Senator McConkey. Lawmakers can agree with the veto and vote the altered legislation into law, which requires 3/5 majorities in both chambers. They can override the veto and make their original bill stand, also requires 3/5 in both chambers. Or they can let the bill die by failing to override or failing to attempt to, or by doing nothing, and then you're back to square one. Senate Bill 1 would become void, and lawmakers would have to pass new legislation to release state dollars to districts before the 2017-2018 school district starts, which is in a few weeks.
Is there any one of these scenarios where we don't pay for this continued failure and fraud? Can we ask this, McConney? Which by the way, I like his name. It sounds like Stu.
Which failure and fraud?
I guess you could pick one where we don't bail out the pension scam, Ponzi scheme, where we don't continue to pay for the continued failure of the education system, where the people who actually have kids pay versus the people who've raised their kids or the people who have yet to have kids. I mean, pick one. Reach in the bag and pick one. Is there anyone where we don't continue to write checks for failure?
The only victory, it seems to me, that's possible in terms of system change. If you're interested in system change in Illinois, I mean, I know many people are not. They think this is going very well, apparently. I just know that based on the way they vote, even though when you see surveys, 80% of the population says Illinois is on the wrong track, and then they vote in the same drivers.
Yeah.
But if you want system change, the only thing in this discussion, which, by the way, is pending, just because the mandatory veto happened doesn't mean this is over. It's not over. It wasn't over when Germany bombed Pearl Harbor, and it's not over. Little Animal House reference for you.
Gotcha.
And so the only system change possibility here is the tax credit scholarship that's been discussed. That's the only system change. That's an opportunity to provide voluntary scholarship funds, to provide opportunities for low and middle income families that the politically connected have. By the way, I direct you to the SagamandSon.com. It's one of my outlets, and we did a little story about Illinois state politics being fueled by the privately educated for a long time. And a lot of state legislators, past and present, who oppose things like tax credit scholarship are the school choice for me and my kids, not for the crowd. And you should check out SagamandSon.com. I also tweeted it at Dan Proft. See if your legislator's on the list. Maybe put a little pressure on them to end the hypocrisy of putting their party over the interests of families in their district. For more on all of these topics, we're pleased to be joined by State Senator Dan McConkey, freshman Republican from Lake County and one of the Senate Republican hostage negotiators in this saga. Dan, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, great to be on.
So give us your take of kind of where things stand and what the possibilities are other than kind of the civics textbook possibilities, what the real possibilities are for a deal, what that would look like and the implications.
Well, at the end of the day, I think it is probably most likely that we end up with a new bill. We end up with something else that gets put together, a package that includes these provisions that you've talked about, probably not quite in the situation that they are now. But, I mean, this is what we had happen with the budget. This is what we had happen with the tax increase that just happened. There was discussion until there was a point in which the Speaker thought he found enough Republicans in the House to break away from the governor and have them kind of walk away and leave the governor on his own, where the governor was trying to stand up to get some reforms to get the state on the right track. And the Speaker just simply waited until there was enough of them that decided, you know what, I think that capitulation is victory. And so they went over and joined with the Speaker and created their own deal. And I think that that's what we're waiting for at this point is the Speaker's just waiting. The Speaker's saying, hey, we still have time. Hey, this isn't the end. But, as having been in the negotiations, having been in, if you're talking to somebody and you're trying to come to a deal, you can tell if the people on the other side of the table want to get to a deal, right? You can just see it. And if the people on the other side of the table don't want to get to a deal. And I could tell you, having sat in endless hours of negotiations over the past week, that it was very clear to me that at the end of the day, it didn't matter what was put on the table. They were going to walk away from it because Madigan is playing this game of just waiting out, just waiting until he gets to the point that he's able to get what he wants. He's able to peel off enough Republicans to do it, and he's able to say to the governor at the end of the day, you really don't matter. I'm the only thing that matters in this state.
And so, it's not surprising, I suppose. But if there's no possibility for a deal, a deal such as you've been trying to structure, then what you're suggesting is what Madigan's going to do is try to woo the 4 Republicans he needs to override the governor's mandatory veto, and essentially try and buy them off with more funding for schools in their districts at the expense of, say, some of the Chicago bailout. Is that a plausible scenario?
Sure, that's definitely a plausible scenario. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, we attempted to really say, okay, what is it that the speaker wants? I mean, I spoke to the Senate president and said, what is it that we can do to get to an agreement with the speaker? And he couldn't tell us, because at the end of the day, there was no deal, at least until the AV was given, that the speaker was going to take. And now they're going to reset the clock and look at it again.
And so does this, I mean, when we spoke to the governor maybe last week, I think beginning of last week, essentially the impasse, or one of the main pieces of the impasse in terms of the dollars. I mean, there's issues on management rights with school districts and mandate relief for school districts, which are important issues, but they get a little bit into the administrative weeds. But on the money, the governor doesn't want to bail out CPS yet again, like has been going on, as I talked about at the top, for half a century, to no great effect, except for the adults in the system. So he wants to take that money that the Democrats want to use for pensions for Chicago teachers and pump it through a modified school funding formula to provide more money to districts around the state, including districts that are struggling, including districts that are kind of property tax and property wealth poor around the state. Is that sort of it?
Well, that was certainly that's certainly what the amendatory veto would do. That money that would then go through the formula. I mean, we have areas of the state, Cicero, for example. We'll have to see the exact numbers that would come out, but we were estimating that under Senate Bill 1 for Cicero, which is 100% poverty, right? 100% of the kids that go to those districts are in poverty according to the definitions that have been set. Under Senate Bill 1, they would get about $8 million to try to help upgrade their schools and stuff. Under the governor's plan and the numbers that we were kind of roughly working up, it would be closer to $15 million. And this is kind of repeated across the state, especially in these very, very poor areas that are significantly poorer than Chicago is. And, of course, at the end of the day, I mean, as you've discussed, Chicago has refused to take care of its own, not just through mismanagement, but they don't tax themselves well enough. They take half of their property and put it in TIFs and don't use it to be able to fund the schools, and then they use it to artificially lower how much they're able to put into the schools, and then they go to the state and say, well, we just don't have enough.
Under any of your plans, does it change the trajectory of the system? Does any of it change the fundamental trajectory of the system? And, I'm new at this, so I'm going to ask you a pointed question. What do you tell your kid when it comes to stay or leave Illinois? You're on the inside. You see how this goes on. What do you tell your kid?
Well, my kids are still younger and at home, so
But what are you going to tell them? That's even more of an issue.
Sure. Well, I mean, part of it depends on where we're going to get. I mean, part of the reason I'm in this job is because it is my hope to be able to help the governor to change the trajectory and get us on a new path and get us some reforms that actually help save our state. So I've got a little bit of time before we get to that point. But I every day have people who contact me, constituents or people from just outside my district who says, you know what, we just can't afford to anymore. And there is a point in which, people are just, we can't build a wall around the state to keep people in, right? I mean, we only did that in Eastern Europe, and it didn't do very well.
We had the same philosophies.
Well, yeah. But we're in a point in which, the failed policies that have been pursued for so long, we've just been doubling down on them. There is a point in which people are just going to begin en masse to abandon the state, and that's a dire circumstance. But we may have to get to that point to get some of these people to wake up.
Thanks, State Senator Dan McConkey, Republican from Lake County, part of the Senate GOP negotiating team on school funding. Thanks so much for your time, Dan. We'll check back with you as the negotiations continue. Appreciate your time.
Thanks.
And he joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line. Let's take Tony from Plainfield. You're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning. It's my pleasure to be here. Listen, Rahm Emanuel came out yesterday and said it's time to right the decades of wrongs that have been done in Chicago. And to that, it begs the question, Decades of wrongs committed by whom? I mean, who's been running this state for more than a few decades?
By his party.
No. Wrong commits itself. Nobody's responsible.
Yeah. Well, Rahm Emanuel's got an election coming up in a year, and he's already hearing the murmurs that he'll be challenged by Grady Preckwinkle. So he's got things to do.
Thanks for the call, Tony. Preckwinkle's not going to challenge him.
I can't believe she's got her job.
Per Tony's call, the issue from Tiny Dancer on Rauner's veto. Ignoring the needs of Illinois school children, the desires of superintendents across the state, the voices of newspaper editorials, and the recommendations of his funding commission, his math is fuzzy, his claims, blah, 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 advances his own personal brand of cynical politics, blah, 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 ensure a child's education isn't determined by their zip code, blah, blah, blah. Ensure a child's education isn't determined by their zip code. Who put a cap on charter schools? Who's been a block for school choice? Not Rauner.
Does he send his kids? Where does he send his kids?
Oh, lab schools, of course.
Yeah, the one who was out at 10 o'clock going for a walk, got beat up. Yeah.
Chip in St. Charles, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, we got Republican Representative Steve Anderson out here in the suburbs.
You do for now.
Yeah, right. And we feel that he's probably going to fold like a cheap suit. The Chicago Teachers Union's already running... is doing mailings for him out here.
Of course they are.
And we're really glad to get those in the mail, reflecting his vote on raising our taxes 33%.
Well, then Republicans, throw the
Thanks
bum
for the call,
out.
Chip. Primaries in March.
Throw them out.
Republicans out in the Western Burbs in Geneva, St. Charles. I'll tell you what, starting this conversation with the 1979 Trib article.
That was great.
Jim Thompson and Jerry Costantino. Why has this gone on for 40 years, 50 years?
Because it pays. Corruption pays.
Well, because you have the same people in charge, generally, and you have the same problem with the Republican Party. Madigan, Cullerton, surrender, big government Republicans.
We are a national joke.
And I got to tell you, per the Sangamon Sun story, this I haven't commented on this much, but there's been some allies of mine that have been switched into the governor's administration, folks from the Illinois Policy Institute and elsewhere. And let me tell you something, people who have perspective nationally, I'm part of one of the best political and policy teams that has been constructed anywhere in the country. You wouldn't know it from where our state is, but that's a fact. And it's not just my opinion. It's an opinion of people that have broad perspective, that operate in the entire country and on our side of the aisle, and know wheat from chaff on the topic. The problem is you still have a lot of house cleaning to do in the party, and the establishment, because it pays, as you said, and because it's their own self-idolatry, and because their own exaggerated sense of self, they don't want to leave. They will not take the stairs, so many have to be thrown out the window, and I'm happy to facilitate that exit as best I can. But that's a real problem. That is a real problem that persists. I've been talking about it for 15 years. It is still a problem. Feckless leadership in the General Assembly, a lot of weak big government, Madigan Republican members that have to be switched out, and frankly, more influence and staffing and direction taken from conservative reform leaders, whether they have titles or they don't have titles, who've proven up as part of a policy team, as part of a political team, as part of a media operation. That's the path forward if there's going to be one for the Republican Party in this state, in my opinion. And that's a message for the governor. That's a message for Durkin. That's a message for Brady in the Senate. That's a message for the caucuses. Because otherwise, what is the point of all this? Otherwise, I'll answer your question that you posed to Dan McConkey. What do you tell your kids? What I'm telling myself is, if that's not what we're going to do, if we're just going to surrender and follow the California model politically like we've done economically.
We'll do the show from Marco Island.
Bingo.
Listen to Dan and Amy on your smartphone. Download the AM 560 mobile app today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies.
For 5 years, I was with this other company, and I tried everything, and it was costing me a fortune. And on top of that, it wasn't working. And I said, ever since I've taken this product, I have kissed that goodbye. Matter of fact, I said, this has been the first winter that I have gone through without a flu or nothing.
Last year I started on the Balance of Nature. I'm telling you, it really built me up, and it really helped me.
My cholesterol went down. Only after taking it 1 month, I went down 20 points.
I feel better already with it. I just feel it's made my life more predictable, more useful.
Take Dr. Howard's Health Challenge and find out how to get 2 free sets of fruits and veggies. We'll even ship them to you free. Call now for details. Call 1-800-2468-751. That's 1-800-2468-751. Or go online to balanceofnature.com. Use promo code Chicago.
There's a really good reason why MyPillow continues to be an important sponsor of our show. It's because our listeners continue to buy MyPillows. Now, I hope you're having a great summer, but if you don't already sleep on a MyPillow, August can be even better. By using the promo code Amy, you'll get the absolute best deal available anywhere. It's the 50% discount on a MyPillow 4-pack, including 2 premium MyPillows and 2 Go Anywhere MyPillows. You can move the fill to give you the exact support you need, regardless if you sleep on your back or stomach. You'll sleep deep and won't wake up to a stiff neck or headache. Our friend Mike Lindell manufactures them in America using only American labor. The best part, you can wash them and dry them. They're hypoallergenic, and you'll get the 10-year warranty and a 60-day money-back guarantee. In August, get your 50% off the 4-pack by calling 800-489-0201 and use the promo code Amy, or visit MyPillow.com. That's 800-489-0201, promo code Amy.
AM 560, The Answer.
I got to read the weather? I'm on. You're the guy that's supposed to lead off. You're the pro. I'm the amateur.
Coming up at 7:37, we have Steve Moore, Heritage Foundation economist, and we'll talk about tax reform and Obamacare replace and what's left at present of Trump's economic policy agenda. Talk a little free trade for you, Sean, as well.
Maybe he could explain why the Dow's at 22,000 and everybody's unemployed.
We'll try to get answers to those questions after we check the headlines with Mike Scott.
72 in the Nissan of St. Charles newsroom, home of the Lifetime Advantage warranty. Military says it carried out a test launch of an intercontinental ballistic missile this morning. It came just days after the latest North Korean missile test. It was an unarmed Minuteman III missile fired from Vandenberg Air Force Base in California. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson says the U.S. is not seeking regime change in North Korea.
We do not seek the collapse of the regime. We do not seek an accelerated reunification of the peninsula. We do not seek an excuse to send our military north of the 38th parallel.
However, the White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders says all options are on the table.
The president has been very outspoken about the need to stop North Korea. We've been very focused on stopping the nuclear program, stopping the missiles, stopping the aggression. That still continues to be the focus.
However, Sanders did not respond to a suggestion from South Carolina Republican Lindsey Graham. The senator talked about possible preemptive strikes on North Korea. 4 are in stable condition this morning following a shooting in Chicago's Humboldt Park neighborhood. 1 person wounded following an officer-involved shooting in Gary, Indiana. The police report says officers began chasing a vehicle that contained 5 suspected of robbing a Verizon store in Munster, Indiana. City of Chicago being sued over the way it administers tickets received by drivers caught using their cell phones behind the wheel. And the freakout ride at the Illinois State Fair, if it can pass inspection, will be open for business, and you can ride it. The State Department of Labor yesterday reversed a ban on the freakout and fireball rides that went into place after a deadly accident at the Ohio State Fair. Cubs over the Diamondbacks 16-4. Blue Jays double up the White Sox 8-4. The news service of NTB. Get your 5-quart conventional oil change today, just $19.99 plus $3 disposal fee. For tires, oil service, and repairs, National Tire and Battery, that's all you need. 7:34 and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Home isn't just a place, it's the feeling of knowing you're safe. ADT lets you take that feeling with you. Learn more at ADT.com.
They're here, circling over your head, and they're tracking you down. You feel overwhelmed, like you can't escape. You need a solution to get your back taxes filed, to put your life back on track. If you owe $10,000 or more, then you need someone who can keep the vultures at bay and work directly with the IRS to leverage every opportunity to settle your tax debt. Mary Karpowitz of locally owned Comprehensive Tax Solutions is an enrolled agent and certified resolution specialist. Don't let the IRS threaten you. You should never need to speak to them directly. Mary will do that. Comprehensive Tax Solutions will execute a plan that can help settle your tax problems, and they will fight for you. Comprehensive Tax Solutions can be a lifesaver for your family. Don't call a toll-free number to represent you. Call Mary. 708-478-6770. 708-478-6770. Or go to resolveyourtaxproblems.com. Call Mary. 708-478-6770.
Policies issued by American General Life Insurance Company, Houston, Texas. Not available in all states. For details, visit AIGdirect.com.
If you're young and healthy, you don't need life insurance, right? Yeah, that's what I used to think, too. Until my brother died at 38. Joe left his wife with 2 kids, a mortgage, and a stack of bills she couldn't pay. Mary had to sell the house and move everybody into this tiny 2-bedroom apartment just to make ends meet. I never want to do that to my wife, so I got life insurance. I called AIG Direct and was really surprised how affordable it is. Just $14 a month for $250,000 of term life coverage. Listen, if you have a family, you should seriously think about getting life insurance. You'll feel a lot better having it, trust me.
Call AIG Direct for a free no-obligation quote. The call takes less than 5 minutes, and you could save up to 70%. Call now, 1-800-400-4173. That's 1-800-400-4173. 1-800-400-4173.
7:36. Let's get an update on the roads in the Alarm Detection Systems Traffic Center with Jim.
Like the inbound Kennedy has delays from Harlem to Hubbard. It's 38 minutes, O'Hare to downtown, outbound 40. Eden's 20 minutes, Lake Cook to the junction, outbound 26. On the Eisenhower, looking at 52 minutes from Thorndale to downtown, 37 from Manheim, outbound 43 to Thorndale. Stevenson, 58 minutes, 3:55 to Lakeshore Drive, outbound 43. The Ryan is 27 minutes from 95th to downtown. Tri-State southbound delays are from 21 to 137 and 190 to the O'Hare Oasis. Northbound, Southwest Highway to Ogden, from the Reagan Tollway to North Avenue, and from the O'Hare Oasis to the Adams Tollway. Veterans Memorial heavy. Boughton most of the way to Roosevelt and North Avenue to 290. Traffic is a service of LL Bean. At LL Bean, every school year is a new adventure. And now you can get 20% off book packs, kids' clothing, and more of the stuff every student needs. Visit LL Bean in Chicago today. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm Jim Talamonte on AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast from the aircomfort.com Weather Center, providing the right climate for business since 1935. Sun this morning, shower or thunderstorm in spots this afternoon, a high of 84, mainly cloudy and 68 overnight. 72 officially at O'Hare. Next news coming up at 8. Continuous news coverage at 560theanswer.com. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Empowered Investing, the show dedicated to investors. Heard Saturdays at noon right here on AM 560, The Answer.
No Victocrats allowed. Why? Because we've got a country to save. Join me, Larry Elder, tonight starting at 7 on AM 560, The Answer.
Good morning, Dan. And in for Amy this morning, Sean from Elmwood Park. And Sean, this is a wheelhouse topic for our next guest. Little climate change politics update.
Oh, green energy. Nothing pays like a good green energy scam.
Australia Weather Bureau caught tampering with climate numbers.
They needed the data.
Australian scientists at the Bureau of Meteorology ordered a review of temperature recording instruments after the government agency was caught tampering with temperature logs in several locations, not recording low temperatures.
Now this guy can go work at the CBO.
Or NOAA.
Yeah, right.
more like it.
It's cooking the books, baby.
Or get a meteorology chair at most American universities. In addition to that, Al Gore, he's got a sequel to Inconvenient Truth coming out.
Rub it.
Truth to Power. Yeah, no, it's not a movie about his massage
Chakra?
practices.
His
it's
chakra?
about his junk science. And so, of course, and I had to see a preview of it when I went to see Dunkirk. It's intolerable. But, of course, CNN wants to help promote the movie and promote Al Gore's political gamesmanship. And so he had a little town hall.
Was Elon Musk there?
Didn't see Elon Musk. But James Eskridge was. He is the mayor of Tangier Island out there in the Chesapeake Bay in Virginia. And Al Gore's phony science ran right into Mayor Eskridge's real life. Listen to this.
President Gore, Mr. Cooper, I'm a commercial crabber, and I've been working the Chesapeake Bay for 50-plus years. And I have a crab house business out on the water. And the water level is the same as it was when the place was built in 1970. I'm not a scientist, but I'm a keen observer. And if sea level rise is occurring, why am I not seeing signs of it? I mean, our island is disappearing, but it's because of erosion and not sea level rise. And unless we get a seawall, we will lose our island. But back to the question, why am I not seeing signs of the sea level rise?
What do you think the erosion is due to, Mayor?
Wave action, storms.
Has that increased any?
Not really. I mean,
so you're losing the island even though the waves haven't increased.
Yes, this erosion has been going on since Captain John Smith discovered the island and named it.
Yeah, because, the water's always been there.
So that crabber who thought Al Gore was president, he described Archimedes' principle far more than the huckster. Just rub my chakra till I relax, Al Gore.
All right, for more on this topic and many others, we're pleased to be joined now by Heritage Foundation economist, Wall Street Journal columnist, Steve Moore. Steve, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hi, guys. Sean, that was a great line about the CBO. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
Made me chuckle there.
Thank you.
Climate change politics never subsides. There's unfortunately no erosion there. But the good news is that you have an administration that is pursuing energy independence. And one of the under-talked about accomplishments, mainly their own fault, is Trump pushing forward with the Keystone Pipeline, for example.
That's right. And, by the way, do you guys know, I'm going to do a little quiz question for you this morning, what the number one source of electricity production was for the United States in the first half of 2017?
Coal.
Natural gas.
Coal. Well, actually, Tron, you are wrong. Natural gas got beat out by a nose by coal. So we got
Damn it.
This is important. These numbers are important because most people have no idea where they get their electricity from. When I even talk to, students in high school and college, I said, you know where you get your electricity from? They go, of course we know. We just stick the thing in the plug and the electricity.
But Stephen, you know why I said that? I said that because I read the article about Germany lowering their costs by 30%. And when they ask them why, it's because they're buying our natural gas.
Of course. So coal and natural gas account for about 2/3 of all our electricity. One other quiz question. Take a guess. What percentage of our electricity in the first half of 2017 came from solar power?
0.03.
1.5.
1%. We shower that industry with tens of billions of dollars. My God, we're paying people all over the country to put solar paneling on their roof, and for all of that, we get 1% of our electricity from. So my point is, ladies and gentlemen, let's be adults here. We have an $18 trillion industrial economy. We produce cars, we produce steel, we produce technology. We're not going to produce all that stuff with windmills and solar power. There's a great saying. You can build up windmills with steel, but you can't build steel with windmills.
There you go.
And so this idea that somehow we're going to transition to, by the way, we could transition to using wind and solar power for all our electricity. And Sean, you just mentioned Germany. Germany tried that. They tried that 10 years ago. It damn near ruined their economy.
Well,
now they're moving back. You're right, Sean. They're moving back to fossil fuels. You know why? Because fossil fuels are a really good way to get electricity.
Dirty energy works.
It doesn't necessarily need to be dirty.
No, I know. It's just, I like to fight.
How about nuclear? Yeah.
No, well, by the way, let's step back a minute. Solar power, natural gas is what's reducing our carbon emissions. The United States has reduced our carbon emissions. I know you know this, Dan, because we've talked about it before, but most Americans don't know it. The United States, the country that didn't sign the Kyoto Treaty, we don't have a cap and trade system. We don't have the tax on carbon, all of this other stuff that all these other countries have done. But we've reduced our carbon emissions more than they have because we're using more natural gas, which is a clean source of fuel. But guess what? The environmentalists hate natural gas, too, even though
they do.
Up the environment. So.
Yeah, well, and the left says in response to that, why can't we be more like China? It's amazing. Switching.
More like who?
China.
Well, China, by the way, sorry, Dan, to go off on this, but China is building, of all the sources, the New York Times reported about 3 or 4 weeks ago, China is building 500 new coal plants.
Yeah, of course.
Does that sound like a country that's taking global warming seriously?
Oh, Steve, would you stop with your naivete? All the left cares about is virtue signaling and mouthing the words. They don't care about the results. Come on.
Well, I'll give China credit. They're very good. What do you call it? Virtue signaling. They're very good at that.
On your bailiwick, along with your compatriots, Laffer and Kudlow, tax reform, amid all of the chaos emanating from the Oval Office last week, Paul Ryan said they're close to a framework for an agreement on tax reform over in the House Republican caucus. Is that true, and what does it look like?
I don't know if it's true. I mean, I met with Paul Ryan a week or two ago. I like Paul. I mean, he has this grandiose vision of, rewriting the 80,000-page tax code and, closing all the loopholes, getting the rates down. I think that's too complicated. I think one of the lessons we should have learned from Obamacare is keep it simple. Keep it really simple. If there's 1,000 moving parts, people get suspicious of Washington. So what Larry Kudlow, Laffer, Steve Forbes, and I are talking about is just do something very simple. I want to run this one by you and see what you guys think. Cut the business tax rate to 15%, so overnight we go from the highest tax rate country in the world to the lowest on our businesses. That's number one. That's the first easy step. The second easy step is do the repatriation tax, charge companies 10% to bring those trillions of dollars they're holding in China and Ireland and Germany and Mexico back to the bring that money back to the United States at that 10% rate. We think we can bring over $1 trillion back. And number three, double the standard deduction. So every American family and American worker gets about a $1,500 tax cut. And just do that. Nothing else. And by the way, this is a tax cut. It's a tax cut. It's not revenue neutral.
I'll agree to what you want when you can explain to me why a corporation pays taxes when it's made up of people. It should be zero. Yeah. Nothing. It doesn't exist. It defeats its own purpose when you tax it, you double tax it, and it has the money and the lawyers to avoid them anyway. So it's an act of futility.
You got it. So at least if we're going to double tax it, let's double tax it at 15%, not 40%.
But here's the thing, Stephen. I disagree with you on Woody from Toy Story, Paul Ryan. I completely disagree with you. Elected at 28, he's been good at absolutely nothing. He hasn't done a successful argument to stop any of the spending. In fact, what are we doing? We're talking about raising the debt ceiling, which mysteriously is out of the conversation anymore. Because all we're focused on the front page of the Drudge is the Dow is at 22,000. And you and Kudlow and Laffer know it's not because of the Arthur Cutten fundamentals we all learned. It's because of that we've quadrupled the money rate. We've quadrupled the amount of money through a click of a button. And nobody, including Ryan, is talking about stopping that. When do we get off this money laundering Ponzi scheme? When?
Well, that's a great question. I've been working for 30 years to try to make that happen. We suffered a huge defeat last week when, we didn't get Obamacare repealed. That would have been the first major rollback of an entitlement program maybe ever. We couldn't get that done. It's hard to take these programs away. But we got to grow the economy. Got to get people back to work. We did get a pretty decent GDP report on Friday. Almost no one took any notice of it because, of course, Trump was bloviating about something with his Twitter, account, and he has a way of kind of stepping on his own, headlines. But the economy is improving. If we get this tax cut done, we're going to grow the economy, Sean. And when you grow the economy, guess what? You have more taxpayers, and you have more revenue coming in. That's what Reagan taught us, and that's the best way to bring this debt down. Get America back to work. Make America great again.
All right, Steve. Stephen Moore, Wall Street Journal columnist, Heritage Foundation economist. Steve, thanks as always for joining us. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. Have a great week.
Thank you. And he joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
If you're talking about it, Dan and Amy are talking about it. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Mark Weingart, President and CEO of Star Creations, Inc., the fastest growing supplier of wall decor products in the U.S. When it comes to banking, I don't want to be a small fish in a big pond. That's why I bank at Signature Bank Chicago. At Signature Bank, every customer is important. I know I can pick up the phone and talk to any one of the decision makers I know and trust at Signature Bank. At Signature Bank, they understand and respond to the unique needs of my business with flexibility and fairness. I'm proud to bank with Signature Bank because I know they're deeply invested in the success of Star Creations.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. Learn more about turning your business vision into reality. Visit signature-bank.com. Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender. Dan Proft here with an important message for Chicagoland business owners. If you own or rent your building, chances are that you're paying more than your fair share of property taxes. Ask yourself this question. If you could lower your property taxes with the help of licensed professionals who have an 80% average success rate, yes, you heard that right, an 80% success rate, lowering business owners' property taxes, would you do that? Corporate Valuation Advisors has reduced their clients' property taxes on average by 20% over their 25-year service history throughout the greater Chicagoland area. Here's a Corporate Valuation Advisor's recent property tax savings success story from a local Chicago business owner. Their first year of property tax savings equaled $26,265. The total four-year property tax savings equaled $104,679. Call Corporate Valuation Advisors. They can help. 630-923-5371. That's 630-923-5371. You can also find them at yourfairtax.com or visit 560theanswer.com and look for the Corporate Valuation Advisors banner.
Sometimes, what you want most from your car is nothing. No headaches, no surprises, no anxiety when it's late at night and you're on some distant freeway in a thunderstorm. That bit of nothing is everything. And that's what you get when you purchase a certified pre-owned Mercedes-Benz from your authorized dealer. Because only an authorized Mercedes-Benz dealership has the skilled technicians to certify that your pre-owned vehicle is up to Mercedes-Benz standards. Only Mercedes-Benz can back their certified pre-owned vehicles with an unlimited mileage warranty for up to 5 years, with roadside assistance included. It's time to experience confidence that's as unlimited as the warranty. Visit the Certified Pre-Owned Sales event now through August 31st, and you'll receive 2 years of prepaid maintenance and special financing available through Mercedes-Benz Financial Services, only at your authorized Mercedes-Benz dealer. You've waited long enough.
See your authorized Mercedes-Benz dealer for complete details and limitations on certified pre-owned warranties.
Message and data rates may apply.
What does home security look like in 2017? It's not strangers drilling holes in your walls. It's not big names making empty promises. In 2017, thanks to some out-of-the-box thinking, FrontPoint Home Security is 100% wireless with cellular monitoring and is ready to set up right out of the box. Plus, it's backed up by the best customer service in the industry. Experience the next generation of home security with FrontPoint. For a free quote, text the keyword FAMILY to 642-642. FrontPoint can be controlled right from your smartphone, so you can remotely control your lights, thermostat, and door locks. With text and email alerts, live video streaming, night vision, and professional monitoring 24/7, your home is protected with us. Ready, set, secure. It's that easy. Protect your family right out of the box with FrontPoint. We deliver it, you unbox it. For your free quote, text FAMILY to 642-642 on your smartphone. That's FAMILY to 642-642.
This is Dan Proft with 60 Seconds of Sanity, sponsored by Upstream-Ideas.com. President Trump is a fighter. He is a counterintuitive counterpuncher, said Trump's mini-me, Scaramucci. Those are nice euphemisms, but what I see lately from Trump is wild, overhand looping punches, not Floyd Mayweather Jr. The quality of the fight, the why and the how matters. If it is to courageously and consistently make the case for policies in furtherance of first principles, that is a good fight. If it is to use temper tantrums as tactics to blame shift responsibility for predicaments onto subordinates and independent allies, that is not a good fight. Trump still conveys an understanding of who he is fighting for, but his public ridicule of AG Sessions and tolerance of the cartoonish antics of his communications director / impersonator will erode his base support if both do not stop. If, as Sun Tzu argued, the art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting, Trump's public public fighting with his allies, through his enemies in the D.C. press corps no less, is subduing his chances for a successful presidency. Public spectacles are not necessary to identify and root out enemies inside the president's perimeter as needed. The first rule of Political Fight Club, don't tweet about it.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies.
It's absolutely amazing that the combination of these capsules improves your health. It does tell you the value of food and nutrition.
I actually can feel a difference. I really can.
I love the product. It's wonderful. I can't live without it.
It's really helping me. Every time I take it, my body says, thank you.
This is the first winter that I went through that I didn't get a cold.
I love my fruits and veggies. I'm a line dancer, and I just turned 78, and it has made a big difference in my stamina and just my overall well-being, and I have so enjoyed them. I just love taking them and what they do for me.
Take Dr. Howard's Health Challenge and find out how to get 2 free sets of fruits and veggies. We'll even ship them to you free. Call now for details. Call 1-800-2468-751. That's 1-800-2468-751. Or go online to balanceofnature.com. Use promo code Chicago.
Are you behind in your mortgage, facing foreclosure, being given the runaround on a loan modification application by some bank or servicer? Well, you're not alone, but I may be able to help you. My name is Lou Bridges. I'm with the law firm of Lou Bridges & Associates. We've put together a team to help distressed homeowners like you. Give us a call. We give everyone who's eligible a free consultation. I guarantee you it will not be a sales pitch. We will give you our honest analysis, counsel, recommendations, and advice regarding your options.
We are experts in doing loan modifications successfully. We know the regs. We understand the process. Most importantly, we don't take no for an answer. We fight. We are prepared, and we win. We save houses. We make houses affordable. So if you want to keep your house affordable, contact us.
Go to bridgeslaw.net or call 224-513-1231. That's 224-513-1231.
Remember, people, never give up the land. Fight for truth and justice. You do that, and I guarantee you'll never be alone.
When you have sleep apnea, traveling can be a real drag because you have to drag your big, bulky home CPAP device with you everywhere you go. But not anymore. Now you can travel easily and sleep comfortably anywhere thanks to Transcend, the world's very first mini CPAP. And right now, you can try Transcend absolutely risk-free for 10 restful nights. So call now, 1-800-600-4133. Our smallest and most advanced portable design ever, Transcend is as small as a soda can and weighs less than a pound. You can even add a battery that's as tiny as a deck of cards. Transcend is so incredibly small and light, you can easily fit it in your briefcase or purse to use anywhere you go. It's FAA compliant too, so you can even sleep comfortably while flying. Now you can enjoy the freedom to sleep comfortably anywhere. But don't delay. To receive your 10-night in-home trial, call minicpap.com now. 1-800-600-4133. Again, that's 1-800-600-4133.
AM 560, The Answer.
Sean from Elmwood Park in for Amy this morning. And, hey, listen up. You may need to learn these tricks of the trade, Sean. Did you hear about the Alabama jailbreak?
No.
A dozen inmates used peanut butter.
Well, it is Alabama.
To break free. It's not, well, I don't know that it's particular to Alabama, but this concept maybe is rather unique. I've never heard of it. Inmates used the peanut butter to change the number above a cell to the number that identified the door leading outside the jail. So when an inmate asked a young, inexperienced jailer to let him into his cell, the jailer was fooled into opening the outside door instead.
Yeah. That's like Escape from Alcatraz. Remember when they painted the faces on the dummy? They put it in the... I mean, yeah, you know. Peanut butter on a number.
12 guys then got out and scattered, but as of yesterday evening, all 12 had been... recovered.
See, that's got to suck. To escape and get re-caught is better. I mean, is worse than never escaping at all.
Also, I mean, it depends on what you're in there for, too, and your sentence. Is it worth the risk? Because, I mean, these were not all violent offenders. One of the guys was in for marijuana possession and other drug paraphernalia, another guy for disorderly conduct. Now, if you're doing a hard time for attempted murder, maybe it's worth the risk.
You ever been locked up, Prof?
I have not.
No?
How many? I'm not going to ask, have you ever? I'm going to ask, how many times?
Never for a length of, when I was a kid, you get into fist fights. You used to get thrown in the Huskow every other Friday. But it didn't last long,
So how many times have you been separated from the civilian population?
Well, no, I don't know, handful, maybe 5.
A handful. Yeah.
But just for fist fighting, nothing serious. You know,
You know-
I might have actually turned around. I didn't know it was a policeman one time who later got thrown off the force. Little guy with a leather jacket back in the 80s. Knocked him on his...
You were vindicated then, of course.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, next time you're on the show, or maybe on your show, I'll do a background check. I'll pull your record, and we can go over the details, and you can share the story.
Just fist fighting. And listen, every one of those guys picked on somebody. I was always sticking up for
of course.
somebody.
Bernie Getz, vigilante justice.
Exactly.
Yeah, of course. All right, coming up, HBO's Confederate should be boycotted, but Amazon's Black America should be celebrated? ? We'll discuss at 8:08, but now we check the headlines with Mike Scott.
Dan and Sean, here are the stories we're watching this morning. 4 are in stable condition following a shooting that happened in Chicago's Humboldt Park neighborhood. Retailers are appealing a judge's ruling on that Cook County soda tax. Some sun this morning. WIND Chicago News Time, 8 o'clock.
It hit its target in the Pacific. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
Today's test launch used an intercontinental ballistic missile.
Air Force Staff Sergeant Caleb Mayfield. The missile was fired early this morning from a base in California and flew over 4,000 miles. The launch comes just days after North Korea once again tested a missile that might have the potential to reach the U.S.
More than ever before, we must stand together in defense of all that we hold dear.
That's Vice President Pence in Montenegro, the newest member of NATO, also reaffirming the U.S. commitment to support Balkan countries amid Russian aggression. The Taliban is taking credit for an attack on a NATO convoy in Afghanistan today, praising the suicide bomber as a hero, claiming he killed 15 foreign soldiers, but that has not been verified. U.S. forces have only said there are casualties, not detailing them. As the U.S. Justice Department readies a major crackdown on intelligence leaks in the Trump administration, it's also reportedly getting ready to go to college. Fox's John Decker explains live from the White House.
The Trump administration may be putting college affirmative action programs in the crosshairs. According to a document obtained by the New York Times, Attorney General Jeff Sessions is directing the Justice Department to explore whether it can sue institutions of higher education over affirmative action policies that the White House deems discriminatory against white applicants. Some DOJ staff lawyers have refused to take on the assignment. As a result, the DOJ's Civil Rights Division is putting out a call for lawyers interested in looking into intentional race-based discrimination. Dave?
John, what a night at a Walgreens in Phoenix. An armed man showed up at the pharmacy.
Began to point that handgun at various people, jumped over the counter into the employee area, and demanded OxyContin.
And then a customer who also had a gun shot and killed the man. Police Sergeant John Howard says that customer is cooperating. They're mourning at Notre Dame. A college football legend has died. Ara Parseghian, who coached the Fighting Irish to 2 national championships in the 1960s. He was 94. Fox News, fair and balanced.
71 degrees, sunny skies. In the Nissan of St. Charles newsroom, Nissan of St. Charles, home of the Lifetime Advantage warranty. 4 are in stable condition following a shooting in Chicago's Humboldt Park neighborhood. Police say the victims were sitting on a porch last night in the 800 block of North Monticello when someone walked up and shot them. The Illinois Retail Merchants Association is appealing a judge's decision to dismiss a lawsuit that temporarily blocked the Chicago area's sweetened beverage tax. The penny per ounce tax imposed by Cook County was originally slated to begin July 1. It's now scheduled to go into effect on Wednesday. The school funding ball is in the General Assembly's court after Governor Rauner's amendatory veto. AM 560's David Stewart on the latest from Springfield.
He's amending the funding reform bill because it takes millions of dollars from classrooms around the state and funnels it to Chicago teachers' pensions.
Unfairly hurting children across the state and unfairly advantaging one school district, a school district that has mismanaged its pension systems for decades.
He wants lawmakers to skip the override process and pass a new bill that incorporates his changes. It's not clear if the votes needed for an override are there. Either way, on-time payments to local school districts are threatened. David Stewart, NBC News Radio, Chicago.
The sister of a Schaumburg woman who was murdered in April is suing over her death. Tiffany Thrasher was sexually assaulted, then strangled in her apartment by Bolmaro Mehamaya. Misty King filed that suit yesterday against the apartment management company for allowing the suspect to live in the same complex as the victim. The suit claims Mehamaya's criminal past would have been discovered if a mandatory background check had been performed. Cubs beat the Diamondbacks 16-4. Blue Jays over the White Sox 8-4. The news, a service of Accountemps. Do you need accounting and finance professionals for a long-term or reoccurring project? If you prefer the same professional to handle your project from start to finish, Accountemps Salary Professional Service is your solution. Learn more at accountemps.com. Accountemps, a Robert Half company. 8:04, time for the AM 560 Business Beat from the Fox Business Network and a service of Turnkey.pro. Here's Jenny Casola.
From the Fox Business Network, the success of the movie Wonder Woman helped Time Warner Inc. to a stronger summer quarter. Time Warner Inc. is parent company of Warner Brothers Movies, Home Box Office, CNN, Cartoon Network, and other channels. Mondelez, the company that makes Oreo cookies, Cadbury chocolate, and Trident gum, had a better-than-expected quarter. Health insurer Humana also reported a stronger quarter, though Wall Street was expecting even better numbers. Hugo Boss is reporting better sales in the U.S. for the first time in 2 years. Hugo Boss earnings were stronger than expected, and the company confirmed its forecast for the year. Apple's stronger than expected quarter could boost stocks today. The Dow Jones Industrials closed up 72 yesterday to a record, though the Dow has not yet crossed the 22,000 mark. The Nasdaq added 14 and the S&P gained 6. With the Fox Business Report, I'm Ginny Cosola.
8:05 and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Hello, everyone, and here we go again with Karen Lewis and the Chicago Teachers Union demanding more money from the Chicagoland taxpayers. Well, I say enough is enough. The teachers get paid from the property taxes that homeowners pay every year. If the teachers union gets more money, that means your property taxes are going to go higher. This is Tom Mirabali, your health insurance advocate and independent representative for Blue Cross Blue Shield of Illinois and other health insurance carriers. For months now, I have been telling you about purchasing health savings account PPO plans that will cost you approximately 40% less in monthly premiums than you're currently paying now. Well, the same thing applies to the teachers union. I can show the union that they can purchase a more comprehensive health insurance plan that is in full compliance with the Affordable Care Act and will cost the taxpayers up to 40% less in monthly health insurance premiums. For more information, you can call me at 630-863-3477. That's 630-863-3477.
Home isn't just a place, it's a feeling. Whether you're at home, your business, or online, ADT helps keep you safe with security systems, home automation, alarms, and surveillance, so you can feel at home wherever you are. Go to ADT.com to get that feeling. ADT, home, safe home.
Finding great people to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. It's time to try ZipRecruiter, where 80% of jobs get a qualified candidate in just one day. How? Using powerful technology, ZipRecruiter matches your job to the right candidates fast. So, while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, only ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/free for your free trial. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
8:07. Let's get a check of the roads in the Alarm Detection Systems Traffic Center with Jim.
Thanks, Mike. On the Edens, inbound traffic sluggish, Elston to the junction. 20 minutes, Lake Hook to Montrose, how about 28? Inbound Kennedy, heavy Lawrence to the Hubbard Tunnel, 46 minutes. O'Hare to downtown, 35 from Montrose, 30 in the Express. Outbound 19 minutes to Montrose, 36 to the airport. The Eisenhower's 53 minutes, Thorndale to the post office, 38 from Manheim. Outbound 47 to Thorndale. Stevenson, an hour and 2 minutes, 3:55 to Lakeshore Drive, outbound 40 minutes. Ryan is 29 minutes from 95th to downtown. Tri-state delays, southbound 21 to 120. Balmoral to the O'Hare Oasis, northbound, Southwest Highway to 31st, and from the Reagan Tollway all the way up to the Toohey Toll. Adams Tollway heavy from Lee to the Tri-State. Veterans Memorial from Boughton to the Reagan Tollway. The Army Trail Toll to 290. Lakeshore Drive with those street closures around Grant Park. Heavy southbound Belmont to North Avenue and a little bit around Soldier Field. Northbound slow from the Stevenson to Jackson. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm Jim Talamonte on AM 560. The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast from the AirComfort.com Weather Center with our meteorologist, Chris Morelli.
Today, periods of clouds and sunshine with a shower or thunderstorm in spots this afternoon, high 84. Mainly cloudy tonight, low 67. Thursday, mostly cloudy and humid with a shower or thunderstorm. Expect a high of 82. I'm Chris Morelli on AM 560, The Answer.
Currently 73. Next news, 8:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next with Sean from Elmwood Park in for Amy this morning on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by HealthQuest Radio with Dr. David Kolbaba. HealthQuest Radio is heard Saturday mornings at 11 o'clock here on AM 560, The Answer.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Good morning, Dan, and in for Amy this morning, Sean from Elmwood Park, and
a little more excitement about it, will you please?
Yeah, talk a little bit about art and culture here. Talked about Dunkirk before. I finally saw Dunkirk.
Now that's a true story, correct?
What? Yeah, a real World War II buff. Sean from Elmwood Park.
We won. I got an uncle in Normandy. Everything turned out good. I might have a cousin there.
Okay. Oh, thank you for that
yeah, my
dissertation.
Uncle Mikey used to get paid in nylons and Hershey bars.
Right. Got it. All right. We'll get to Dunkirk in a second because there's there's been so many hilarious reviews of this. I think Dorothy Rabinowitz's review that was critical of it for being a bit of a whitewashing of history has some legitimacy. It wasn't quite as pronounced as I thought it would be from reading her review prior to seeing it, but I think she has a point. But I mean, a lot of the reviews, because this is where we are today, is reviewers having to bump up every movie, even one that doesn't conform, the actual historical account doesn't conform with their vision of the world, through the Bechdel test about the women leads and the nature of their conversations and the lack of transgender troops in the British military in World War II and so forth. I mean, it's just hysterical stuff.
I hate it when reality doesn't fit to a format.
But there's a controversy, a racial controversy that's being ignited by, those who are still obsessing about how white or not the Academy Awards are. There's a show that's in production by HBO called Confederate. And ostensibly the premise of Confederate is, what if the South won the Civil War?
Mm-hmm. Well, they're stealing it from Amazon with the Nazis winning World War II.
Right, so Man in the High Castle.
Right.
So what if Hitler won?
Mm-hmm.
That is without controversy. I haven't heard protestations or calls for boycott.
Not one.
But the South winning the Civil War is being treated with exactly that. Now, before we get to who's behind it, this is being produced by the Game of Thrones producers, Confederate. David Benioff and D.B. Weiss.
Right.
As well as the husband and wife team of Malcolm Spellman, who's writer-producer on Empire, and his wife, who's a writer-producer on The Good Wife, Nichelle Tramble Spellman. So two African-American
who are
writer-producers, too, on Confederate, along with the Game of Thrones producers. So it seems like a pretty talented group that's working to produce this show. By the way, HBO...
communist?
Well, I mean, is this some
Bill
kind
Maher,
of... Is this an alt-right network? Obviously not. It's silliness. But you have people, including writer Roxane Gay, who wrote Hunger and Difficult Woman, saying she doesn't want to watch slavery fan fiction. It's curious that time and again, when people create alternate histories, they are largely replicating a history we already know and intimately. They are replicating histories where whiteness thrives and people of color remain oppressed.
Oh, boy.
So there's a hashtag campaign, No Confederate. Oscars So White activist April Rain is among the organizers. And they're calling for a boycott. This is not even in production for a year. So they don't even, know the kind of treatment it's going to, the storyline, the fictional account is going to receive. Now, on the flip side, receiving rave reviews pre-launch is Black America, another alternate history series that's being produced by Amazon. In Black America, freed slaves formed their own country called New Colonia out of the states of Mississippi, Alabama, and Louisiana, those states given to them as reparations for the country's original sin of slavery. New Colonia has been at peace with the U.S. for 20 years following 150 years of fighting, but their newfound accord is endangered by an economic role reversal. The new country has emerged as a new global power player as America slides into decline.
So do they start loaning us money?
I don't know the storylines.
All right, well,
but I mean,
let's kick it around.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. What does it say? I mean, these are just fictional accounts by, in both cases, accomplished writers and producers and directors. It's art. It's fiction.
But it's important to remember, too, that people from HBO are creating a world that could never... Their specialty is to creating fantasy. What is Game of Thrones? It's a hodgepodge of complete and total fantasy.
Well, it's Dungeons and Dragons.
Exactly. It's outrageous, right? But, I mean, we all love it. We're entertained by it. So how dare they touch upon history of America, real history, and just... it's a curious topic.
And flip the script.
Exactly.
I mean, why does one beget a boycott and the other, the advocacy for a boycott, and one is treated as just another alternative history series?
I think it's.
Should 312-642-5600 turnkey.pro answer line. What do you think this says about America, or at least certain segments of America, the reaction to HBO's Confederate versus Amazon's Black America?
Don't you think it's from the same bias, the same ridiculous reverse racism that refuses to give the white people who fought to free slaves any credit? As I clicked on the story, the first thing that comes up is reparations, and this guy's asking for more reparations. Now he's using it as, and no one talks about the fact. I have an unusual family. I have a grandmother her family's been here. They helped get the Mayflower people drunk. And
they helped get the Mayflower people drunk.
Yeah, they were the bartenders for the Mayflower.
Okay. Right.
And her family, my ancestors fought for the Union Army. They killed their own fellow citizens to free the black. Do they get any credit, or do the descendants of those soldiers who fought for the black, do they have to pay the reparations too? See, my ancestors were on the right side of history.
Well,
do I get credit? How about a thank you?
Well, sins of the father, right? How about sins of the father 6 generations removed? And, the reparations talk is present day.
That's what I'm talking about.
It's crazy. You have a lot of these race hustling operators like Jesse Jackson, not a reverend.
Church of Perpetual Tax Evasion.
Yeah, Sharpton. Members of Congress. Black Lives Matter.
It's going far. You could go far on that ticket, baby. You get yourself a pension, you play that card right. It's like cleavage.
So, it's fascinating to me that you can look at, this Black America story, freed slaves, they get those 3 southern states, as I said, as reparations for the country's original sin. However that happens, they form New Colonia, and then then it plays out. New Colonia becomes an economic superpower, and America's in decline. I don't know. It could be interesting. Could be good. I mean, it doesn't offend me, even though I'm not a proponent of reparations. Why should the playing out the alternate theory of that apparently is the premise of Confederate offend anybody, especially before they even see it? I mean, the left is so anti-intellectual. They're anti-art. I force you to pay for it, but I decide if you can participate in it. That's what we had the story yesterday about Dennis Prager being an effort by the Santa Monica Symphony Orchestra to disinvite him from being a guest conductor because he's conservative. We force you to pay for it. We decide what you can see and where and when you can participate, if at all. I mean, so they're the great free expressionists on other people's extracted money, but they're the great censors as well. And
because they're smart, though, Dan. They know.
I mean, what did you hear Jews boycotting A Man in the High Castle?
They know that the conversation will destroy their ideology. So what do? You avoid the conversation. Just stop having the conversation. It will not expose the flaws of your ideology. That's why all we're talking about is different versions of their ideology rather than challenging the premise altogether.
Ralph and Rantoul, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, good morning. You know, I think generally everything that people see on TV, they believe anyway. And to the Democrats, you know, the man in the high castle thing, to them, just it's a metaphor for the Republicans being in charge. What if the Nazis won? Even though they probably still would never know how to actually run anything.
Yeah.
I think most people don't understand the television. They just think it's all true. They even think commercials are documentaries.
Yeah, okay.
The Flintstones.
Thanks for the call, Ralph. Right, yeah. True, you know, based on a true story.
The
Fred and Wilma Flintstone.
Yeah, living with the animals. Sure.
By the way, I got to get to this Marie Claire review of Dunkirk, though. The one reaction I heard after watching Dunkirk, this from Mahara Bonner.
Oh, is she relation to John, living in Marco Island in a $3 million condo?
Don't know.
All right.
The one reaction I overheard after watching Dunkirk, Christopher Nolan's new directional gift to men. Gift to men. Who are currently spending their time fervently ranking his movies, arguing about said rankings, and presumably wearing fedoras completely unironically.
Huh. Like Jim Telemonte.
My main issue with Dunkirk is that it's so clearly designed for men to man out over. And look, it's not like I need every movie to have strong female leads, but the packaging of the film, the general vibe, and the tenor of the people plotting it just screams men only, and specifically seems to cater to a certain type of very pretentious man who would love nothing more than to explain to me why I'm wrong about not liking it. If this movie were a dating profile pic, it would be the swole guy at the gym who also goes to Harvard. If it was a drink, it would be Stumptown Coffee. If it was one of your friends, it would be the one who starts his sentences with, I get what you're saying, but.
Whew. My sympathies to her husband.
Yeah. This is everything, even a heroic historical account of a seminal moment in world history where the Nazis were on the march and Britain was going to be next, and then the world, and it has to be forced through the filter of her silly, anti-intellectual, here we go again, gender identity politics. What the left does is politicize everything, and it destroys everything in the process.
It all could have been avoided, Prof, if they would have just cast Janet Napolitano in one of the leads. There you go. Everyone will be afraid to address it. Just put her in a button-down Oxford and let her go. Call her Jerry, and it'll be fine.
It's what Chicago is talking about. It's Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy on AM 560. The Answer.
All right, the forecast for today. Some sun with a shower or two. A little thunderstorm later in spots this afternoon. The high is going to be 84. Tonight, 68, mainly cloudy, but it won't matter. It's nighttime. You can't see anyway. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy and humid. In the AM, thunderstorms in certain spots, then a strong thunderstorm for all of us. 83 is going to be the high tomorrow. Tomorrow night, low, 63. Now to the man in the fedora, Jim Telemonte.
Maybe someday alone with Sean. Good morning. Good morning, Dad. I got big problems on Metra's Rock Island line. It's due to mechanical problems. Metra says there's some delays and cancellations. MetroRail.com has the details. Eden's 20 minutes, Lake Cook to Montrose, outbound 37. Kennedy, 49 minutes now from O'Hare to downtown. 38 from Montrose, 37 on the Express, outbound 32 to the airport. The Eisenhower's 52 minutes, Thorndale to the post office, 36 from Mannheim, outbound 32 to Mannheim, 50 to Thorndale. Stevenson, an hour and 5 minutes, 3:55 to the drive, outbound 40 minutes. The Ryan is 29 minutes, 95th to downtown. Tri-State southbound, stop and go Balmoral to the O'Hare Oasis. Northbound from 95th to 31st, from the Reagan Tollway most of the way to the Adams Tollway. Adams Tollway is the lead of the Tri-State. Reagan Tollway is good. Veterans Memorial delayed. The Boughton Toll to the Reagan Tollway and Army Trail to 290. I'm Jim Talamonte in the Alarm Detection Systems Traffic Center.
ChicagoRadioDeals.com has partnered with two amazing gun establishments to bring you a full curriculum of training classes To the north in Lake Villa is Red Dot Arms, offering a Refuse to Be a Victim seminar, which teaches basic skills for developing a strategy for your personal safety. Paired with a home and firearm safety course, this non-shooting class teaches you the safe handling and storage of firearms and ammunition in the home. Continue the training with an NRA basic pistol shooting class or the personal protection courses. Set your sights on all the deets of the deals that Red Dot Arms has to offer at ChicagoRadioDeals.com. To the south in Bolingbrook is the Range at 355. This state-of-the-art shooting range features electronic, programmable targets and pure air filtration. Grab a deal for 12 hours of range time at a $396 value for only $195, plus a 16-hour, 2-day Illinois concealed carry class for only $100. Add pistol fundamentals and a small knife skills class, and you have all the bases covered. Find these Second Amendment deals and their details at ChicagoRadioDeals.com.
My name is David Hochberg, Vice President Lending at Pearl Mortgage. If you're looking to secure financing on a new home or refinance your existing home, give me a call. If you're purchasing a home within the next year, this is very important. Your credit score is the most important factor in determining your interest rate and monthly payments. I strongly advise listeners purchasing a home to contact me as far in advance as possible so I can pre-qualify you for free. I will analyze your credit and make recommendations to improve your credit scores so you can secure the lowest rate when purchasing a home. Paying banks and other lenders a fee to get pre-qualified is ridiculous. If you're purchasing a home, give me a call now at 312-751-1333 or visit am560david.com and get pre-qualified for free. I've helped thousands of AM 560 listeners, but I can't help if you don't call 312-751-1333 or visit am560david.com. Pearl Mortgage, an equal housing lender, Illinois Residential Mortgage Licensee 4358, and MLS 19186.
Join me, that's Dan Proft, and Kane County Chairman Chris Lausen for his Summer Volunteer Appreciation Barbecue. It's happening this Saturday, August 5th from 5 to 7 p.m. in Aurora. Enjoy Faye's barbecue pork chops and chicken while meeting new friends. There's no chance of a rain out since it will be all indoors. For more information and to purchase tickets, please send an inquiry to campaign@lausen.com. That's campaign@LAUZEN.com.
Hey guys, Ken here from the award-winning podcast Today's Growth. If you had to choose sides, which camp would you rather be in? Would you rather have time and no money, or money and no time? Did you know that 95% of U.S. adults by choice have settled into these categories? Much more interesting is that 1 out of 20 people have built their life around achieving simultaneous control of both time and money. What choices did these 5% make that the others didn't? My friends at Income Store have shown both households and businesses how to build second, third, and even fourth revenue streams for the express purpose of gaining control of time. When it comes to helping folks create their next revenue model, both Forbes and Inc. recommend Income Store as a can't miss. Could your household or business use an additional revenue model that doesn't solely depend on you? If so, you need to check out IncomeStore.com. That's IncomeStore.com.
Go to IncomeStore.com today. That's IncomeStore.com.
Did you know that if you have mutual funds in your IRA, 401k, or investment accounts, that according to Forbes magazine, you could be paying as much as 3.17% in hidden fees every single year? 3.17% may not sound like much, but over 10 years, it's costing you 32%, whether your fund is up or down. Hi, it's Tom Fortino of the Alpha Wealth Group in Chicago and host of the Alpha Wealth Hour on AM 560. This is just one of the reasons I hate mutual funds, and you should too. You may not know this, but you have far more investment options today without the excessive fees. Learn what they are in my free report, The Truth Behind Mutual Funds. What you learn may shock you. To get your free report, The Truth Behind Mutual Funds, call 630-519-4742. There's no obligation. That's 630-519-4742.
Investment advisory services. Offered through Retirement Wealth Advisors, Inc.
If your roof is needy, if your roof is leaky,
call Grumweedy.
If your roof isn't right after it's stormy and shingles are curly,
call Grumweedy.
If your roof is looking needy, call Crumweedy. This is Mark Olson of Crumweedy.
And I'm Greg Olson from Crumweedy. We are a third-generation family-run business. We've been doing Chicagoland roofs since 1953.
You really can't do that unless you do really amazing roofs. We share the same conservative values as you, and we really want to do your roof. Here's what you can expect.
First, no high pressure. You make the choice. Whatever option you choose, count on getting a roof that lasts at a fair price.
You see, application is really the key. We follow the manufacturer's specifications so your warranty is intact. You know, a lot of companies don't do that, and that could really void your warranty.
No horror stories here. The roof you need that will fix your problems. When your roof is needy,
Call Crumweedy.
For your needy roof, go to myroofisneedy.com. myroofisneedy.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, here comes the softball. I'm teeing this up for you, Sean. You ready? Rosie O'Donnell tweeted yesterday that women should, quote, form our own party, unquote, if Democrats support the campaigns of any candidate who is pro-life, who does not support abortion on demand, which, of course, she
Can we name
does.
it?
So what should the name of Rosie O'Donnell's forthcoming new party for women be called?
All right, I got two choices. Either Lipstick Won't Help or the Viagra Slayers. And we could sponsor it by Levi's Short and Portly or Supercuts. Give me the William Shatner or Duracell battery. All layups. The jokes right themselves.
Boy, there's a lot of corporate brands in there.
Yeah, well, we got to get sponsorship, baby. We got to turn people on.
I think we can do better than Sean's offering. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. Your suggested names for Rosie O'Donnell's new party for only pro-abort women. We'll take your calls and texts after we check the headlines with Mike Scott.
73 degrees. Right now we have mostly sunny skies, but there is a chance of rain and maybe a thunderstorm later today. We're in the Nissan of St. Charles newsroom. Nissan of St. Charles, home of the Lifetime Advantage warranty. Moments ago, Vice President Mike Pence urged condemnation of the regime of Venezuelan dictator Nicolas Maduro for the arrest of two opposition leaders. Pence saying in Montenegro today the U.S. will hold Maduro personally responsible for the health and safety of the two opposition leaders, Leopoldo Lopez and Antonio Ledesma. The military says it has carried out a test launch of an intercontinental ballistic missile this morning. Comes just days after the latest North Korean missile test. The unarmed Minuteman III missile was fired from the Vandenberg Air Force Base in California. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson says the U.S. is not seeking regime change in North Korea.
We do not seek the collapse of the regime. We do not seek an accelerated reunification of the peninsula. We do not seek an excuse to send our military north of the 38th parallel.
Tillerson saying the U.S. would simply like to sit down and have a common sense dialogue with the North about the future. Four are in stable condition following a shooting in Chicago's Humboldt Park neighborhood overnight. One person wounded severely following an officer-involved shooting in Gary, Indiana that began with 5 suspects robbing a cell phone store in Munster, Indiana. The Illinois Retail Merchants Association appealing a judge's decision to dismiss a lawsuit that temporarily blocked the Chicago area's sweetened beverage tax now scheduled to go into effect on Wednesday. And the city of Chicago is being sued over the way it administers tickets received by drivers caught using their cell phones behind the wheel. The suit filed Tuesday in Cook County Circuit Court alleges Chicago took the cases to Municipal Administrative Court for years in a bid to keep all the resulting fines rather than sharing the money with the county or the state. Cubs over the Diamondbacks 16-4. Blue Jays knocked out the White Sox 8-4. The news a service of Staples. With free next-day delivery from Staples, you can run your business like a pro. Go to staples.com for the office essentials you need, delivered next day, free. On eligible items only and orders over $49.99 placed by 5 p.m. Excludes weekends and holidays. Staples, it's pro time. 8:32 and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Mike Gallagher is on to the game from the media.
I turned on that insufferable Don Lemon last night. He's sitting there with his panel of Gloria Borger types, and they're all guffawing and laughing at Trump talking to the New York Times. Well, wait a minute. Every other night I turn on CNN, they're mad at him for not talking to the Times. So which is it? It's proof, of course, that they're not objective. It's a big game to them.
The Mike Gallagher Show. Weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Papa Nicholas Coffee. Papa Nicholas, great coffee, period. A good parking lot is essential to a good building and a good business.
This is Kevin Berquist. My company is SKC Construction, home of GreatParkingLots.com. Great parking lots. The name says it all. We make your parking lot great. We are an industry leader in seal coating. You can trust our company to do the work for your company. We have the same traditional values as you. We use a process and application that makes sure you get a great job that lasts a long time. I guarantee you'll have a good experience. Go to our website, greatparkinglots.com. Check it out, greatparkinglots.com.
Go to greatparkinglots.com. Schedule a free inspection and get a quote to make your parking lot a great parking lot. Save the expense. Fix, don't replace. Contact SKC Construction now for commercial parking lot seal coating and maintenance. SKC Construction, home of greatparkinglots.com. greatparkinglots.com.
8:34. Let's check the roads in our Alarm Detection Systems Traffic Center with Jim.
Thanks, Mike. The Edens inbound is 20 minutes from Lake Hook to the junction, but outbound 37 with scattered delays out to Willow Road. Kennedy looking at 49 minutes, O'Hare to downtown. 38 from Montrose, 37 on the Express. Outbound 32 minutes to O'Hare. Inbound Eisenhower, 52 minutes. Thorndale to the post office, 36 from Manheim. Outbound 32 to Manheim, 50 to Thorndale. Inbound Stevenson, 57 minutes, 355 to Lakeshore Drive, 44 from the Tri-State, outbound 40 minutes to 355. McBrien, 29 minutes, 95th to downtown, outbound clear. I-57, 30 minutes, I-80 to the merge, Bishop 422. Southbound Lakeshore Drive, heavy Irving Park to North Avenue, northbound from Soldier Field to Jackson. Southbound Tri-State stop and go, Balmoral to the O'Hare Oasis. Northbound from the 83rd Street toll to 31st, from the Reagan Tollway to North Avenue, the O'Hare Oasis to the Adams Tollway. Adams Tollway slow Meacham to 53, Veterans Memorial, Mountain Toll to the Reagan Tollway, and Army Trail to 290. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm Jim Talamonte on AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast from the aircomfort.com Weather Center, providing the right climate for business since 1935. Some sun in your forecast this morning, a shower and thunderstorm later this afternoon. High 84, cloudy overnight 68, and some strong thunderstorms in your forecast for tomorrow. 83 for a high temp tomorrow, 73 right now. Next news at 9. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next with Sean from Elmwood Park sitting in for Amy this morning on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldstone Financial, helping you become financially independent at goldstonefinancialgroup.com.
When you've got questions, he always has an answer. It's Sean Hannity this afternoon at 2, right before Joe Walsh at 5 on AM 560. The Answer.
Good morning, Dan, and in for Amy this morning, Sean from Elmwood Park, and getting a lot of responses to my question for a proposed name for Rosie O'Donnell's new party for pro-abort women. She's breaking away from the Democrat Party if they support any congressional candidate who is not pro-abortion. Let's see. We got a text from 847 abortocrats.
Mm-hmm.
Another text from a different 847. The O''abortionists.
I mean, she's a lesbian. What is it? The abortion. How drunk do you have to be to pick up Rosie O'Donnell? You imagine you roll over, she's drooling on a pillow. You think you knocked the pillowcase off until you realize it's her underpants on the floor. I mean,
wow.
Call your bartender and sue somebody.
That is vivid. Also, Molly Hatchets. The Molly Hatchets.
Oh, winner. That's a
pretty
winner.
Good. I mean, and their big hit, Flirting with Disaster. That'd be perfect theme song. You're flirting with disaster if you've engaged
How do
any
you
of those.
explain to your kid you're pro-abortion?
Delicate flowers.
And you not name them Lucky. You know what I mean?
All right, switching gears. This is an interesting story. You remember Ben Rhodes? He was Obama's national security advisor. He famously penned the echo chamber piece, how to pass the Iran deal, they used all of their dumb surrogates in the D.C. press corps to propagate their propaganda on Iran. That was Ben Rhodes, being the puppet master and explaining to the world how he was and making a lot of D.C. quote-unquote journalists look quite silly in the process. Well, he's allegedly now something he's never been to anybody.
Useful?
A person of interest. Person of interest, according to a letter sent yesterday by House Intelligence Committee Chairman Devin Nunes to the NSA regarding the investigation into inappropriate unmaskings of American citizens made during the Obama administration, particularly from for the first 3 weeks of January during the transition from the Obama regime to the Trump administration. So it's interesting. There's this other piece of the conversation about illegal, illicit activity, in the context of the deep state. And then, of course, Debbie Wasserman Schultz and her IT guy being arrested. And
what about Cass Sunstein's wife, Pippi Longstocking? Samantha Powers.
Yeah.
She's neck deep in that, too.
Well, in the unmasking piece of it. Susan Rice, exactly. And so, secondly, DWS, somebody tweeted yesterday, I thought a very good point. If, say, the DNC had Reince Priebus or Romney McDaniel had an IT person that also worked for 30 congressional Republicans.
I love that.
And who was arrested.
And how much did he make?
The family made between $4 and $5 million over the course of a decade.
Oh, God, that's fun. That's fun stuff.
Had
Good
that
day.
been the Republicans, this would be all the D.C. press corps would be talking about. And in fact, this is only, quote unquote, conservative media outlets that seem to care about these curious developments surrounding the Democrat Party and its former party chairman. For more on these topics and the new chief of staff for President Trump, we're pleased to be joined again by Noah Rothman. Of course, he is a associate editor for Commentary Magazine. Noah, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So why don't we start with Rhodes, Rice, Power, the unmasking issue, and the relative import of getting to the bottom of this. Here's, again, unlike the Russian collusion investigation, an actual statute is being cited. An actual crime was committed, we know, with the unmasking of General Flynn and perhaps more, and yet it's a real struggle to get anybody to pay attention to it.
Yeah, the unmasking issue is not a distraction, as Democrats would like you to believe. The unmasking of General Flynn, while it revealed mendacity within the administration, it humiliated the administration, it resulted in his firing, and frankly, because he was such a liability, he should never have been in that position. Nevertheless, the standard and the precedent that was created there is the revelation of somebody who was caught up by American intelligence agencies revealed to the public for political gain. That is a terrible precedent. It is one we will live to regret. And people should be very cognizant of that. But I would also caution conservatives to be very circumspect about how they deal with this issue. When we start talking about sprawling conspiracy theories involving, for example, the fraud that is alleged to have occurred involving Democrats, and particularly Debbie Wasserman Schultz, we're beginning to create conditions that we can't demonstrate exist or that are demonstrably detrimental to the American civic pact.
Well,
so conservatives have a real issue here, but they need to be very cautious about how they address it because it's a real issue.
No, that's fair. That's a good point. It's just asking questions, and so like the exchange now between her and the head of the Capitol Police about getting her computers back. She acted as very curiously for someone who was apparently a victim of a crime.
Oh, sure, absolutely. And I would be shocked if there wasn't anything in those emails that Democrats didn't want people to see. But you know what? I would be shocked if Republicans in that same position weren't as cautious and defensive because just about everybody in that position isn't going to want to have their private correspondences revealed. And also that you're a victim of a fraud that you've been complicit in for the last 10 years is humiliating.
Yes, it's at minimum. Yeah.
It's a real issue. It's a real matter. But I would just caution that we don't engage in conspiratorial thinking because that is how Democrats distract from the real issue of unmasking, which, by the way, even Attorney General Sessions was recently caught up in.
Yeah, that's fair.
Noah, here in Illinois, we're numb to this. We have congressmen that pay their wives $400,000. We got pay-to-play schemes with our Chicago public schools. For us, it's so open and notorious, the pay-to-play scam, the contributions, all the skimming. We're kind of, like I said, we're numb to it. But on a national level, if we have a Republican president, a Republican Senate, a Republican Congress, and this double standard of justice still happens. Is the reality that Lady Justice, she's not only is she not blindfolded, but she leans towards the Democrats. Is that not a reality?
Yeah, I don't know how this is going to unfold. It's so far unfolded not to my satisfaction. I think Chairman Nunes did himself a very serious disfavor, and the Republic a disfavor, by allowing himself to be used as a tool of the administration to get a narrative out because of how that narrative got out. Just the methods, not the substance. it ended up resulting in Devin Nunes having to recuse himself from this investigation and discrediting himself with regard to the Russia investigation. It deprived the White House of an ally. It was really stupid. It was really foolish behavior, and everybody should be concerned about how that went down because, again, this is a real issue. And the more Republicans indulge in sweeping, broad conspiracy theories that encompass more than they can actually prove is how they get in positions where they end up looking discredited.
Then how do you react to Republican Congressman Trent Franks from Arizona saying that Mueller should resign over his clear violation, quote unquote, of federal law prohibiting a special counsel from having a conflict of interest? Franks contending that his conflict of interest is his friendship with James Comey, among other matters.
Well, if you're going to indict members of the Justice Department for being friendly with the former director of the FBI, you're not going to have a Justice Department tomorrow. That's just nonsense. Unfortunately, the FBI director has a lot of friends, whoever that FBI director is. And the Justice Department is very free with off-the-record, unattributed quotes about how depressed they are, given how Comey and Sessions have been treated by this White House. So it's not necessarily something that I think is a legitimate excuse. I think it's a partisan excuse. And the FBI, the special investigation should be helping the president, should be helping Republicans because they don't have to talk about any of this stuff off the record or on the record. They can say, let's let this investigation take its place. We're not going to talk about the Russia investigation. It's in the hands of a special counsel. For some reason, Republicans are disinclined to shut up about this thing and talk about the real issues that are facing the country. They'd much rather go after this special counsel, go after the Justice Department, go after everybody and anybody, and draw more attention to it. I frankly don't understand the strategy.
You know, as I was watching this Debbie Wasserman Schultz story, and as I heard her answers, I was cringing. And I thought for sure there would be, just an outrage among all the media. And I kept thinking to myself, if her name wasn't Debbie Wasserman Schultz and she wasn't a female Democrat, but if it was Antonio Mariucci and he was an Italian contractor who worked with the government and was caught up in the same kind of scandal, where would the coverage be? Is it always going to just be so skewed towards Democrat women that they can basically, this contract is outrageous to me?
Yeah, it is. It is outrageous. It should be actually provoking more interest, more outrage than it has been. And the attorney's statement, the attorneys for the accused, are leaning into the notion that this is all motivated by Islamophobia and the color of the guy's skin. And the fact that that's not generating a little bit more frustration on the part of mainstream reporters who are reporting this thing. They're being accused of racism by this attorney. You would think that would generate some antipathy towards the attorney, towards the Democrats, but it's not. And I think that just demonstrates your point pretty clearly.
Well, right, and it's the old legal tell, if the facts aren't with you, attack your opponent. I want to get to White House Chief of Staff. Krauthammer suggested that after last week, the Trump administration hit bottom, but then they bounced with the appointment of General Kelly as his new Chief of Staff, and then General Kelly moving swiftly to get rid of the mooch and apparently try and bring some order to the Oval Office as well as into the West Wing, as well as already reaching out, according to a report this morning in the Washington Post, reaching out to Democrats to try and resuscitate Trump's legislative agenda, I guess in part. Do you see this as a potential bounce and a watershed moment for the administration, or do we just have a dead cat bounce here?
I don't know yet. We're not deep enough into this thing to know what kind of suction General Kelly has with the president, with the people around him, whether or not he can change the behavior of the president or Ivanka and Jared Kushner. We don't know yet. And that's his task. His task is to keep the president on message. I don't know if anybody can do that.
When you say change the behavior of Ivanka and Jared, I mean, I certainly understand what you're talking about when you talk about President Trump, but what do you mean when you talk about changing their behavior?
The president has a lot of problems with leaks, right? We know they're coming from them because it's all about them. We hear leaks in the press about how Jared and Ivanka weren't happy with Reince. They were not happy with Scaramucci. They were super happy with Scaramucci when he got rid of Reince. But now they're not happy with the fact that that this person is talking to this other person. It's all about them. It's all about their clout, their ability to influence this president or to be seen to be able to influence this president, even when they're not, they have more invested in their own success, I think, than they do in the presidency. But no matter what they say about it, they are not helping him. And the president is the author of his own problems. I'm not shifting blame to anybody else. But the family around him isn't helping. It's incumbent on General Kelly to do something about that, and I don't think he can.
That's really interesting. So don't believe the placid looks on the faces of Jared and Ivanka.
Yeah, I mean, you can't go 2 days without tripping over some story about how they're beleaguered or how they're frustrated with their position or how they don't like this guy or they do like that guy. They're the ones feeding this information to the press. Nobody cares what Jared and Ivanka think, but they'll publish whatever leaks are fed to them by members of the president's senior advisory staff. So a lot of this is coming from, not all of it.
No,
near all of it.
Yeah,
but a lot of it.
Interesting.
No, and now that you've finally heard Jared Kushner's voice after a year and a half of silence.
Doesn't he sound exactly like Emo Phillips?
Well, I want to know,
Grove's very own.
I want to know if Noah was more shocked at the effeminate transgendering nature of it or that Ivanka finds it sexy. Which one confuses you more, Noah?
I think I would be sacrificing my brand if I were to answer this.
All right. Welcome to the show.
All right. He is Noah Rothman, associate editor for Commentary Magazine. Noah, thanks as always for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
And he joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
It's my last weather report. Really, John Drummond would be very upset. Some sun with a shower or a thunderstorm. And
Mad Dog Drummond?
Yeah, Mad Dog.
He was a weather reporter.
Who's the guy? Oh, Coleman. I always confuse him. Some sun with a shower or thunderstorm in spots. This afternoon, we all get it. High 84. Tonight, mainly cloudy, low 68. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy and humid. In the AM, thunderstorms in spots, then a strong one in the afternoon, 83 high. Low tomorrow night, 63. Now, for the last time today, Telemonte, I will miss you. Until next time.
All right, Sean, thanks so much. Good morning. Good morning, Dan. Got a crash right in the Grant Park area, Roosevelt in Michigan, and that, along with all the Lollapalooza-related closures, making for increased congestion. It's going to be a mess there the next few days. And then tonight, you've got the MLS All-Stars at Soldier Field, plus the Cubs at home. So it's going to be a rough night on Lakeshore Drive, perhaps. Edens right now, clear sailing. 20 minutes, Lake Hook to Montrose, outbound 30. The Kennedy, 48 minutes, O'Hare to downtown, outbound 30. Mount Eisenhower, 53 minutes, Thorndale to the post office, 33 from Manheim, outbound 40 to Thorndale. Stevenson, 57 minutes, 3:55 to the drive, outbound 40. The Rhine is 29 minutes, 95 to downtown. Still significant delays on the Tri-State. Southbound 190, the O'Hare Oasis, northbound the Stevenson to 31st, and from the Reagan Tollway to the Grand Avenue Curve. I'm Jim Talamonte in the Alarm Detection Systems Traffic Center.
Join me, that's Dan Proft, and Kane County Chairman Chris Lausen for his Summer Volunteer Appreciation Barbecue. It's happening this Saturday, August 5th from 5 to 7 p.m. in Aurora. Enjoy Faye's barbecue pork chops and chicken while meeting new friends. There's no chance of a rain out since it will be all indoors. For more information and to purchase tickets, please send an inquiry to campaign@lausen.com. That's campaign@LAUZEN.com.
Have you racked up more than $10,000 in credit card debt? Are you barely getting by making minimum payments? You should know. The credit card companies are tricking you into thinking there's no way out. Credit card companies would rather you didn't know that there are ways you can become debt-free and you don't have to pay the entire amount you owe. There are debt relief programs that help people like you escape overwhelming credit card debt. National Debt Relief has helped tens of thousands of people just like you reduce more than $500 million of debt. National Debt Relief has helped so many people, they're A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau. You don't have to declare bankruptcy or take out a consolidation loan. You have the right to settle your debt for a mere fraction of what you owe. Reduce a portion of your debt now. Call National Debt Relief at 800-518-4020. 800-518-4020. That's 800-518-4020.
Are you stuck in a bad home mortgage? Well, join the club that has about 10 million other American families. But I may be able to help you. My name is Lou Bridges. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Lou Bridges & Associates. We've been helping distressed homeowners like you for over 8 years now. Give us a call. We provide free consultations. I guarantee you it will not be a sales pitch. We will give you our honest legal analysis, counsel, Recommendations and advice regarding your options.
We are experts in doing loan modifications successfully. We know the regs. We understand the process. Most importantly, we don't take no for an answer. We fight. We are prepared, and we win. We save houses. We make houses affordable. So if you want to keep your house affordable, contact us.
Go to bridgeslaw.net or call 224-513-1231. That's 224-513-1231.
Remember, people, never give up the land. Fight for truth and justice. You do that, I guarantee you'll never be alone in this country.
Yes, indeed, summertime. Another hot one. Wait, gonna be a little bit cooler today. Back to hot, gonna be windy. Maybe a thunderstorm mixed in for good measure. Up and down and up and down. The climate is always changing. Your company's heating and cooling system really gets a workout in Chicagoland. Be ready for anything this summer. Call Air Comfort and get your business's cooling system tuned up and running at peak performance. You see, the Air Comfort problem solvers can find small problems before they become big problems. Plus, proper maintenance will keep your system from wasting energy and money. Air Comfort will make sure your equipment is clean and obstacle-free. And if your chiller is about to or has stopped working, they can install temporary solutions to keep you cool while the long-term fixes are put in place. The key to keep your climate from changing is preventative maintenance, and Air Comfort can help. Schedule a comprehensive assessment of your mechanical system today. Call 708-345-1900 or visit aircomfort.com. Air Comfort, providing the right climate for business since 1935.
Change in the market shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. In fact, since World War II, we've seen a correction on average about once every 18 months. That's why Arlington Capital Management developed proprietary tools that help them to see what's beyond your investment horizon. Like an experienced ship captain uses tools to avoid stormy weather, Arlington Capital Management uses tools to guide you through market corrections before it's too late and help us decide when to capitalize on opportunity. Call Arlington Capital Management today at 855-471-5796 to learn how their active management systems can help you. Each day, they actively explore the market, our economy, and all the variables that affect your investments. Stormy markets never cloud their vision. The professionals at Arlington Capital Management use their tools and experience to guide them. Call Arlington Capital Management today at 855-471-5796 for a financial review. The number again is 855-471-5796 or learn more at arlington-capital.com.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing, independently owned business bank. Signature Bank listens to your story, learns about your business, and sticks with their customers. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Brian Duncan, co-founder of Signature Bank. Born and raised in Chicagoland, my partners and I knew this city needed a locally owned business bank. As fellow entrepreneurs, we know the challenges facing businesses, and we are invested in our customers' success. We are here to build mutually beneficial, long-term, lasting relationships with our customers. We look forward to helping our customers reach their goals every day, and we are here to see them succeed. At Signature Bank, you work directly with decision makers who understand your business and can deliver on their promises.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. Learn more about turning your business vision into reality. Visit signature-bank.com. Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies.
I've been on vitamins, I've been on all kinds of supplements, but nothing has come close to your product. The difference between before I started the product and afterwards is like night and day. I do have more energy, and that was what I really was after. I get all these benefits. It's wonderful. I had no energy at all, and I thought, how can I live this way? I do one little chore, and then I have to sit and rest. And I find that I get through the day pretty well, and I really have more energy. I look in the mirror and I say, I think I feel more alive. I think I look more alive.
Take Dr. Howard's Health Challenge and find out how to get 2 free sets of fruits and veggies. We'll even ship them to you free. Call 1-800-2468-751. That's 1-800-2468-751. Or go online to balanceofnature.com. Use promo code Chicago.
Mike Gallagher here for Relief Factor. You might be asking, who should consider ordering Relief Factor? Well, anyone with pain that's keeping them from doing things that bring joy to their life. Maybe taking a long walk, not having the pain, riding a bike, playing golf again without pain, opening a jar or sewing or using a hammer, even rolling out of bed every morning without pain. For me, I had hip replacement, and then I had a little bit of a scooter accident in New York, left me miserable, aches and pains, until I started taking Relief Factor. Heard about them on the radio. I started to take Relief Factor, a packet in the morning, a packet in the evening. You know what? I was completely pain-free. I want to prove it to you by you taking the 3-week quick start from Relief Factor. It's only $19.95. Do you know 80% of those who take the quick start order again? We know it works. So if your pain isn't worth the price of a cup of coffee a day to lower, then you're not in much pain. If it is worth it, try the 3-week quick start. ReliefFactor.com, ReliefFactor.com, or call 800-500-8384, Relief Factor.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan, and it's been a severe pleasure having Sean from Elmwood Park.
I had fun.
Sit in for Amy J this morning.
I had a lot of fun. I hope she's sick tomorrow. Don't get better.
Okay. And now, thanks for listening, I should say, as well. And now let's turn it over to Mike Scott for the headlines.
Dan and Sean, here are the stories we're watching right now. Retailers are appealing a judge's ruling on that Cook County soda tax. Obamacare premiums may jump over